All right, welcome everybody to another exciting issue of Where's My Pants? I'm here with Natara Meads from Kalispell, Montana. And Natara came down, 2 days ago?
Yep, Thursday.
Today's Sunday. Natara came down, flew down, just came down to help me halt break some colts. We've been halt breaking some weanlings and doing a few things, and so it's raining. We thought we'd sit down in the best two seats in the house and chat a little bit, and we wanted everybody to join us here and be in on the conversation. So we'll start out, kind of give me the Reader's Digest version of your life. We've talked about it a little bit this week.
Yeah.
From Boston and to Montana, and just kind of give us a rundown there.
Everything in between. Yeah, basically came out to Montana when I was 5 and kind of been riding as long as I can remember, like a lot of us. And now I'm starting colts and riding some rope horses up there. And we do everything from raising babies up to kind of 3-5-year-old years and then finishing some. So we've been working on weanlings this week. It's been really fun and just kind of coming down to do some work and keep learning more.
So when you say we, and this is why throughout the week I haven't asked you much, because I like all these questions to be pretty cold.
And we've talked about a lot of stuff.
We have talked about.
We've had a lot of conversations.
But when you talk about we, you have your own program, but then you also work for an outfit. So tell me.
Yeah.
Tell me those two deals. Tell me about your own program. Tell me about the outfit you work with. How those go hand in hand.
Totally.
And go into the lessons that you do.
I think the really crazy thing about right now where I'm working is my program and the ranch that I work for,
which is
Lost Creek Ranch up in Kalispell, Montana. The values are so similar that it feels really synergistic, and like we kind of all work on the same things together. I think that's why I say we, because I have my personal string of horses. I've got a yearling stud colt, and then I've got a 4-year-old thoroughbred. She's got about 20 rides, and that's the one I'm going to have to bring down to show Amy someday. And then I've got a 5-year-old play gun quarter horse that I'm learning to rope on. Well, we're learning to rope together. He just came off of a ranch. I just got him back, so we're kind of syncing up over the winter. And then I usually keep 1 to 2 horses at a time that I can keep going along for sale
outside
eventually.
Horses? Oh, no, of your own?
Yeah, just one of my own.
Trading horses, I call those.
I guess you could. But I have thus far done it where I've kept them for at least a year to 2 years if I'm gonna sell, and I just do one a year.
So that way you can really hang your hat on them.
Yeah, and
there's something you can stand behind.
Exactly, and it's something that I treat like my own. So I'll have my personals, and then something that's going along that if someone comes in and is looking for the right horse and they're a good fit, it has the option to go down the road. But if not, I can keep riding it. So that's my personal string. And then those are the ones I use to, take to clinics, go do jobs if I've got to work or something like that. And then at Lost Creek Ranch, they have a really big lesson program, training program. They take in outside horses, boarding. And Chanel and Ashby, who run that ranch, they compete in rodeo, breakaway, team roping, and she does barrel racing. So their performance horses coming up through there I get to work with and lope out and kind of keep in shape and use. And then I'm learning at the same time kind of the breakaway side of things. I've been doing the big loop stuff more and learning that, which I love. It's such an art form. But then also learning like how to make a good breakaway horse, because we have those that we keep going to. So
besides their horses that they compete on, do they raise and sell some rodeo horses too? Yeah,
they raise and sell a lot. I think Chanel and I always joke there's like always one coming in. We have couple off-track thoroughbreds, which are amazing. We love thoroughbreds. That's something we always have at the stable. There's off-tracks. And then young ones. We always have ones coming up. So they just bought a metallic cat baby. He's a yearling. And then they've got a 2-year-old coming up. So it's kind of like anything, you have your main ones, but then every year we try to have something coming in that's new, that's we can bring along and develop. So there's something at every stage. All of our 4-year-olds have joined our lesson program now, which is really cool to see. They'll go win a jackpot on Saturday night, and then Monday they're teaching a little 4-year-old how to ride.
Neat. That's really neat.
It's really cool. So seeing
shows
those.
A real versatile type of a horse.
I think that's what we go for. Yeah. Jack of all trades, kind of master of none, just because those horses seem to be.
They're valuable.
And mentally rounded and mentally sound. I think that's the biggest thing we try to do, like a very horsemanship first approach, which I know everybody thinks they have their own form of horsemanship, but I guess for us it means, versatility, and then we can make a horse that can go from the show pen to the mountains to your kids and be something that you can trust and depend on. And it's honest about where it's at. Like, I don't want to make something that can look so good in an arena, but if you take it and get a rope caught on its feet, it's going to buck you off.
When we talked about that on some other conversation this week, something about making a horse that you can stand behind, that just because you can go get a job done on doesn't necessarily mean that everybody else can, and those aren't the kind of horses you want to have or want to have for sale. Sometimes you end up with those kind of horses. I got several of them. But we were talking about that. Those are the people can really cut their throat in this industry by selling those type of horses that, well, heck yeah, you know what, shoot, you just saw me win a jackpot on him.
Yeah.
I mean, you can.
Right, yeah. Well, and like we talked about with the two-year-olds that we were working yesterday, or your cutting buddy that decided mid-session that horse was never going to be a cutter, it was going to be a rope horse. I think it's nice to have the freedom to look at a horse and be like, what are you going to excel at? Right. And then kind of move him either along in your program or to a different one where that's what that horse can be good at. So like the 2-year-old you have that we were talking about, you have one where you're like, this is going to the sale next month, we're going to switch it out for something else, and then the other one you kind of liked. So I think we look at them sort of similar, where it's, maybe something's going to fit or maybe not.
When the way I've looked at horses my whole life is that every one of them is good for something.
Yeah.
There's a job for every one of them. And I always follow this up with, and some people will hate this caveat to it, but every one of them is good for something. Some of them are only good for feeding dogs, but every one of them is good for something. Now, I know that's a harsh way to say it, but that's a realistic way to say they've all got a job. If what I do doesn't fit this horse, let me find somebody that does do something that fits this horse, or find a personality that does fit this horse, or like, I'm not a great team roper, nor do I really like team roping. I've had a pile of horses that I've sold to team ropers and go, man, I wanted this horse to be a cow horse, but he ain't gonna be one.
Yeah.
He'll make a team roping horse. On the other side of that deal, I've had a lot of horses that I've bought that were, supposed to be fraternity horses or something, and people went, man, this sucker just doesn't have the brain for it, but he'll fit Brett's deal. So I think that's really important for us to be looking, does my program fit this horse? Not does this horse fit my program? Does my program fit this horse?
Yeah. If
it doesn't, whose does? Where can I find a spot? What can I change in my deal to find a fit for it? Because it's really not as bad anymore as it was like when we were younger. It used to be a lot of these trainers, if a horse didn't fit them, they would almost purposely blow it up just so nobody else could have it.
Oh.
And it was just a real jealousy kind of a thing. It's not as bad that way anymore, but I'm glad to see that it's not like that anymore, as bad that people are going, well, shoot, you're not going to be a breakaway horse, but you'd make a kick-ass trail horse or whatever
it is. Well, and we kind of talked about that last night, I think, when we were talking about, also as a rider, like, you have to be able to fit the horse and kind of be able to support them and come in and say,
especially with the young horses, yeah.
Right. Does my skill set fit and support him at all? And then there's just room in the industry for everyone.
Yeah.
And I mean, gosh, like we talked about kind of everyone we look up to and rub elbows with and run around with, and every single one of them has something so good to offer.
Right.
And then probably something that you or I would disagree with and maybe pick a bone with and be like, I don't do it that way in my barn.
Or be able to watch and learn something like, that's something I don't want to ever do. I'll put that down in my book.
Right. Yeah. But to be able to it's a good industry. I think right now it's swinging towards, at least everybody that I know is so freaking supportive of other trainers. And like you guys and you and Amy, with me coming down here, you guys have been so great. And everyone we work with up there just is really supportive. We all send our horses to different people at times, or we all take lessons from other people. You know, like maybe we compete against each other Thursday night, but then like we're gonna all be training together and the next week. And so that's something really important. I think that's kept me from burnout in being in horses. It's just like a lot of people say, oh, the horse industry has a lot of bad people, and every industry does. But I think the best thing is like having a good circle around you and people that you can call, like when you bump to the edge of your skill level, you can say, hey, I don't know, I'm getting to this spot where I don't know what to do with this horse. And they'll say, oh, have you tried this? Or I'll come out. And I have a lot of people like that around. And I think that is honestly what keeps me going and is good for the horses.
Well, and at the risk of playing the old guy, card here, I want to say that, and it's something I love to see, is that what I'm seeing now is that it's getting more like that than it ever was in my lifetime or before in my lifetime. It's getting more like that where people share horses around and go, man, it's not working. It's not working for me. And letting the neighbor rider or whoever beat you last week or you beat them last week and they come over and say, hey, can I have a lesson? And it's getting more like that. When I was a kid, there was a lot of jealousy stuff, and it's because there wasn't books, there wasn't videos, there wasn't social media, there wasn't the internet, there wasn't this kind of stuff. And so if anybody knew anything, they kept it themselves, they hid it. And that's why it was always a big deal. Like, well, who'd you learn from? Because people only shared secrets a little bit. Nowadays, they're not even secrets. We share everything. And I think that's a super good thing. And I'm really glad to see the industry with the generation younger than me is really embracing that and going, there's room for all of us. Yeah. There's enough money for all of us. We can all win. We can all do better for a horse. Let's share our ideas. Let's pool our ideas. Right. That's awesome.
And partially because a lot of the time people like you guys have put in, like doing the videos, and just like you said, every trainer has an accessible library right now. And then to say everyone today has to, but you do kind of have to, if you're gonna stay like progressing. I feel like a lot of people now have made an online presence. I can think of 10 people off the top of my head that would tell you, I hate social media. I only do it because, sure. And there are some days where it's like, gosh, maybe you don't want to share what you're doing, but I will say I've met so many good connections and more friends, like really people that mean a lot because of what you're talking about, because they shared something and they're out there talking about it and I see it and we can connect, which is, it's a duality of like, does it kind of suck everything's online in a way, but it's also connecting people in that new way.
Well, and just to add on icing on the cake to what you were just saying, just this afternoon when I went on that hay run, I returned a call from a gal she's a trainer for the public. I don't know her personally. I know her through social media. She knows me through social media. We've talked on the phone. I had a message from her, said, hey, I'm having trouble with this horse. I called her back, blah, blah. We talked through. I don't know if we got anything done, but gave her some ideas. And then we were talking about the very same thing you were just saying. We were both saying, man, I hate social media. But we're, we're in a digital age. We have to, this is the only way to do it. And you have to be out there sharing ideas. You have to be out there talking to each other. And then like, there's a bunch of people that I wouldn't have ever known, one sitting right here. And the gal I was talking to, a lot of people that have come and ate in this kitchen, I wouldn't have ever known had it not been through social media and sharing ideas.
And horses. At its core, even deeper, it's like horses.
Core of it,
which is crazy. And even you guys meeting through horsemanship, it really is a medium. Like I know
we met because I got a DUI, but
that's true. And then you had to work at a bar and pay it off.
The only thing I knew how to do was ride horses. So.
Yeah, it's sailors and cowboys, man. It's interesting how we all got into it for sure. Yeah. Like it's not your everyday for sure.
Tell me about your lesson program. We'll just change gears.
Yeah. So I started with, when I learned how to ride, I learned English for a long time. And you and I have talked about dressage being something we both really value. So I learned dressage and show jumping, and for years that's all I thought I was going to do. Like that was it. And it's hilarious that I ride colts and rope now. Right. Because it's one of those things, you go back 10 years, it's like, that wasn't what I thought. Right. But the colt starting kind of came to me as you ride enough horses at this far stage. And then I had the opportunity to ride, meet Buck Brannaman and ride with them a little bit. And there was actually a conversation with him that he had about this troubled horse that I wanted to work with. And he goes, you're better off just going and starting like 10 colts. Right. And
it's good advice.
It was. And so I thought, well, okay then. So I turned around and went and found a colt. Because I'd gotten to this place where, I felt like in the English world I had done as much at that moment that I could. So switched gears, and you asked about my lesson program. I'm talking about the ones I've been to, because it was such an educational search. Yeah, it was like a lot of years of just really diving into like learning again and going back to ground zero and being a student of other horsemen and learning natural horsemanship, and then something more classical, and then combining kind of the whole history of my classical dressage training, what I learned from show jumpers, what I learned from the more like natural horsemanship world, and then kind of now getting into roping and performance. The lesson program that we teach tries to make students that could go back into any one of those fields and be successful and have skills that would keep them safe and efficient.
Just a well-rounded
in any
first
program. Yeah, safety is our biggest thing that we always talk about, and it's annoying because there's a lot of times when I wish I could just saddle up my freaking horse for my clients and have Fluffy ready to go, but we don't do that. We make sure that, you know, the kids that ride horses saddled their own horses, and they put them away, and they get them water, and, you know, so it's all about that foundation. And then from the ground to the horsemanship of really foundational stuff. So, all right, maybe you can jump a 4-foot fence, but if you close your eyes on a circle, can you tell me when the front foot leaves the ground?
Nice.
And when the inside hind is on the ground, and what your body in correlation to that can do to affect it or influence it, and what's the timing to get it right. That's what I want people to learn how to think about when they come to ride with me. So we do everything from you want to learn how to ride to you're advancing in your sport skill and you need support and help. But regardless of what level you're at, it all kind of boils down to being very similar lessons where we talk about, well, how's your top line? And is your horse collecting or just chinning up? Like,
exactly.
You know?
And it, because that boils down to no matter what discipline you're in, and really no matter what level you're in, and I'll misquote it, however it's exactly said, but the experts are people that have perfected the basics.
Oh gosh, I can't think of that either, but
I can't even remember who said it, and they said it better than I did. But the idea is, you know, that no matter what the discipline is, whether it's jumping, barrel racing, cowboying, blah, 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 the basics are all the same. And an expert in any one of those disciplines is somebody that has perfected saddling your horse, taking care of your horse, seeing that their top line is healthy, seeing that they're sound, blah, 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 and then left, right, forward, back.
Yeah.
All the rest of it's just lost in the details. You know, it's the difference between a tempi and a flying lead change is just how slow you're going.
And like you said earlier, how little you can care about it. It just, I feel like if you practice in school, and this comes from my physical therapist last time I got in a wreck, we were talking about how to get better again, and he said that like most people, if this is your hard zone, that you think you should train down here and then sort of bump to that zone every now and then, and you know, this is like your max. And he was like, well, why don't we go over here and bump your max to here?
Okay.
And whatever's the hardest thing in your life today,
have that be 0.
That's your new 0.
Yeah.
And so that's like a big thing to approach and look at when you think about, oh gosh, that's a really big shift. But I think about that in the horsemanship as well, of like, if you can do 1,000 really good hindquarter yields and backups and stops and transitions with your horse without thinking about it, when you do go to try that lead change and you just look over and think, you decide to try it one day, it seems easy because you've done everything else so much that just makes sense through the horse.
Right.
So with my colts, when I'm starting one, my goal is that when people see me do something, they go, hey, you could have done that earlier. Like that horse looks like he could have done that earlier. Like that's what I want it to feel like, where we've done so much together and we've gone through so many things, not just skill-based.
It's deal where people go, holy crap, I can't believe she got away with that.
Yeah. Like Dalton Darnell would always say about roping. He's like, you should be surprised if you mess up.
Yeah.
Not when you don't mess up. He goes, everyone's so like anxious about failing that when they try, they get shocked when they get it right. And then there's this, oh, what do I do now? Yeah. He's like, you should be so confident in what you're doing that you're shocked if you miss something. You're like, how on earth did I miss that lead change? We've done this 1,000 times, you know, so that's what I try to do with the riding. It was like, do basics.
And that sounds like that's how you teach lessons too, with basics.
Yeah, and that's not to say it's the same thing every day.
Sure.
You know, it might be a trail ride on Monday, and then
you can still make a trail ride and work on basics.
And you have to normally.
you
Stuff
can-
comes up.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. More so than arena work.
Right. Yeah.
But you can do arena work and still focus on this other basic. But, because the basics is a pretty broad spectrum.
Right. Well, and also the excitement of having your own horse or something, whether it's your own or a client horse. But I love the feeling of coming out every day, and there's that, I guess, dopamine hit, you could say, of coming out and having a problem that you get to work on and solve. And then there's this little feeling of accomplishment every day that you're doing the work. It never gets monotonous. It never gets tiring, because every day you get to say, well, I got 1% better at that. And like earlier when we didn't finish all those colts because it got really hot midday and we decided to take them all on a trailer ride instead, it was like, well, we'll get to them tomorrow because we did a good job on this amount. And that's what we can do really well.
Yeah.
So kind of.
Yeah, I'd rather do a good job on 5. I think that's what we ended up.
Yep.
A good job on 5 rather than a half-assed job on 9.
Right.
Or
Exactly.
whatever. Yeah, I agree. And that's halter breaking colts, but that should be the same with our first 10 rides, our first 30, our first 90, first 120. Should be the same with our first advanced maneuvers. It should be the same with our first backing in the box and roping. It should be the same with all of it.
And showing.
Showing is that, well, I didn't get the whole pattern practice today, but the part of the pattern I got practiced, we did really good. We did it really right.
Yeah. And I think that goes into too, like knowing when to stop. You have a quote in your book about everything in moderation except for moderation itself.
Oh, yeah.
And just kind of knowing what is the day that you take the smallest try and quit there. And then what is the day that your horse has done enough with you that it's time to go a little longer or push it a little further, and kind of developing that feel of what the horse needs. I think that's what I'm working on the most in my horsemanship right now, is kind of like looking at my approach and then letting the horse feed back to me how well I'm supporting them.
So tell me more on that. Let's just play off of that. So there's the day, and whatever day it is, there's the day where we accept the smallest amount of try and we go, good job, horse. And then at some point we go, all right, well, you're doing that pretty consistently. Now let's ask for a little more. Where do you have any specifics? And there's no right answer here or anything. Do you have a specific set of things you're looking for? Do you just kind of feel it out? Do you just kind of wing it? Or what? How's that go? How's that work for you mainly?
I think kind of like I was saying about, if I ask my horse to do this, is it going to be something that they're going to be successful at yet? And that's important to employ in that confidence building stage. And then I also think too, with the younger ones as they get older, finding that moment where they do need to step outside of their comfort zone, and you maybe do that day have to go a little bit farther than what's going to be awesome. And we've talked about being too, I don't want to say soft on colts, but never putting a horse in a situation where it has to problem solve is really dangerous.
Right.
And having a horse that you take through 100 days of riding and he's never had to think independently or make a decision or make a wrong decision and then kind of deal with that, that's what I want to avoid. So I think more than like a checklist of this is what I'm looking for, it's more like, what can this horse handle, and get a good feeling of that. And then, all right, when do I play it safe and build reps? And then when do I say, all right, horse, we've tracked the dummy X amount of days. You understand this. We're going to go get on a real cow. Because more often than not, you're going to survive and get through the day. And whether or not it was perfect, taking that next step outside of what is comfortable is going to at the very least show you and your horse, if you failed, where you're failing.
Right.
Not use the word fail, but where you need to work on it. Flunking. Or if you win, then great. Oh, I could have done that earlier. And that's the feeling I'm looking for. That's what I hope happens. Is, oh, sweet. My horse got that next thing. But if not, like clinics, like the other day when I kind of got a little fixated on that horse and I was like, wait, I need to just relax. When I do find those moments where I mess up or don't do exactly what I planned, just kind of being like, all right, well, that's kind of what I'm going to work on and poke at for the next little bit. And then in a couple days or when I feel ready again, I'll go try the thing that didn't work and hopefully I fixed it, and if not, there's manana.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and to play off of what you were saying there about, we've tracked a dummy for X amount of days. Let's go get on a real cow. And then along with the, if it works good, if it doesn't, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, and this is kind of a resounding theme, it sounds like, in your whole program. When I do something, I want to be surprised if it didn't work.
Yeah.
And so what I'm going at, I'm getting a roundabout way of getting to what I'm trying to say here. At some point or another in my life, I've seen people that the first ride I'm trying to put my slicker on or swing my rope or drag stuff, and I've always kind of said a first ride 2-year-old, I can't go rope anything on it anyway, so there's no reason to jerk my rope down and see if I can swing it, because I can't do anything about it even if I can. So if I can do it, who cares? It doesn't do me any good.
Yeah.
And if I can't do it, who cares? I'm not ready to do it anyway. And so when that horse is a long 3-year-old, when I can finally go ahead and rope something, well, that's when I need to be ready for it. So in the same vein of when we progress these horses to the next step, it should be a deal where we didn't have to build up to it because they weren't ready for it anyway. So today you're ready.
Yeah.
Today we go do it. And then this is the really important part of it. If it didn't work and we misjudged it, we don't need to tell the horse that we screwed this up.
Yes.
You go out there and try to track live cattle and whoa, everything's not working. That's okay. That's not really what we're doing anyway. Horse, we're doing one range stops. That's what we're planning.
That's what we're practicing.
I just happen to have my rope down.
Yeah.
And you can change the rules on horses. As long as you don't tell them you're screwed up, they don't need to know.
Exactly. That's actually funny you say that, because that was my judge's notes at the last show I did in July. Because afterwards, if you guys show and have never done this, I didn't realize how nice some of the judges were, and they will sit down and talk to you.
Some will.
Yeah, some will, some won't. Some will walk by. Don't be offended by that. But I had a couple judges who sat down and kind of went over my notes with me of what they scored, and that was their resounding answer. They were like, I can tell that you train horses because you're not really looking like you're just showing off. He goes, I can see in your face when you got something and when you wanted to be better, and that's wrong in the show pen. He goes, just tell your horse and tell me that that's exactly what you meant to do. And that was a big rainbow
showing
moment
horses,
for me.
you show the judge the horse you brought.
Right. And like I said, I went to that whole show to figure out what I needed to work on, and I did, because the inverse of that was damn, I also need to be like that with my horses.
Yeah.
And not tell my horses when I got it wrong, because it is me. It's not like he saddled himself up and put me on his back and bucked me up. If he gets in trouble, it's because I put him in that spot.
Right.
I don't need to dwell on it, but I need to be accountable and figure out, okay, what's my next move? And that's it right now, is making it just smile and wave.
And then if I made that move wrong, I don't have to tell this horse.
Don't tell him. He did great. He did great.
Yeah, I think that's really important, and I think that's an important thing to say, because I find working with people, and people call me in all kinds of different situations where they go, well, I want to do this, this, and this, but I'm not sure if I'm ready. What happens if I mess up, or what? Who cares? Maybe you're not ready. Try it. Find out. Maybe the horse isn't ready.
Maybe everyone else scratches that day and you freaking win a buckle because you showed up. I've seen that so many times in events where people take a wild chance and maybe they don't make their best run of their life, but everything else lines up and they go home with a win, or they stay in the running for the average because they showed up and failed.
Yeah.
But it moves the needle, and that's important.
Exactly. And if it doesn't work, that's not a big deal. You just don't tell your horse about it. Just roll with it, and this is something for me to learn. My horse didn't get better or worse, but he got exposed. He went to another show or tracked the dummy or did whatever. And tomorrow, now I've got all these things I learned that I can tomorrow make it better with. Yeah.
Do you find in your programs, because you guys have worked at a lot of different styles of outfits between show horses and ranch horses, with your horsemanship, to keep you going and kind of feeling like you're enjoying the whole program, do you like doing what you have now, where it's a mix of everything, or was there a certain type of horse that was your favorite to work on?
I don't necessarily have a type of horse that's my favorite to work on.
Or a type of job that's your favorite.
Yeah, I know what you meant. I've got there's certain, it's not that I don't like it, I don't thrive as well. And that's kind of how I'm mentally geared. It's hard for me to ride 2 or 3 2-year-olds and then ride some 3 and 4-year-olds and then work on this blowing up barrel horse. So like riding for the public was really tough for me when you'd have a public barn, or the times I've had a public barn and had all kinds of different horses. It's hard for me to mentally switch those gears. I don't operate quite as well.
Yeah.
I prefer it. It's easier for me if I've got all 10 and under, 10 ride colts, or all 90 ride colts, or all first year of training colts, or all working on going to the show colts, or all, these are sure enough show horses, been down the road horses, and we've got this and this we do every day, or ranch horses. Or to me, I prefer it when it's kind of all the same.
Yeah. Like what we're doing this week.
Right, yeah, this week.
One job.
Well, and that's kind of why I do things the way I do it, where like it sort of feels like we didn't get much done, or as much done as we could have, but I feel like I got more done because, to me, if I just focus on just halter breaking babies and don't even worry about these other horses, then I get more done with my babies than trying to do a little of both. Whereas then you're going home, those babies will be halter broke. I'll kick them out and I won't even think about them. I'll go back to riding 2-year-olds and just focus on 2-year-olds. Now, that's not to say that my way is the best way. It's the best way for me. That's how I like to do things. I'm just not real good at juggling and switching things up. So like what you talk about, what you're doing, you're riding some of your horses, some company horses, some here, and doing some lessons in between. I really, I don't envy it, but I really have a ton of respect for somebody that can do that. Just to be able to juggle that many things and hold that many things together. 'Cause I'm not real good at that. I'm better if I'm just doing the same thing.
Well, I think the part you talked about just kicking the babies out after too, and giving them the time also is huge. I feel like time off, like neutral time in horse training, is something I don't think enough people really talk about or utilize.
Yeah.
But you're talking about...
I call it prescribed time off.
Prescribed time off. I love that. Sometimes we all need that, right?
Yeah.
But, I don't feel like I'm juggling 3 things because so first of all, I don't start any 2-year-olds, just that's how I have it set up. I start them at 3. So everything I'm riding is 3.
Yeah.
And nothing I'm riding has somebody breathing down my back with a timeline.
Right.
So, manana, if I have a horse that I feel like we've done 30 really good days and they're in a good spot and I can't really do more at that moment, or maybe they need to kind of mentally mature, I'm really happy to ride a horse for 60 days and then put him out to pasture and give him 30 days off or a week off, or maybe it's just an extra day off over the weekend, but kind of being able to put one down and then focus over here. And then also the weanling and breeding side is a little easier to do that with because it comes in seasons.
You have to, yeah.
You have to, yeah. Breeding is nuts. During springtime, my friends basically, I have them there's a group text. Sorry guys, see you in a couple months. Breeding time is really demanding. And at that time, I don't have time to do outside horses. I'm not really riding my own often or as much. And we're running broodmares. We do surrogacy. So we're getting recips, we're doing IV flushes, we're doing semen, and that has us hauling all over. We've got blood checks, we've got vet appointments. So that kind of ties my hands up. And then summer season, you shift into the days are longer. We do a lot of trail rides, we do a lot of ranching and clinics and getting out there and pushing the envelope on that end. Shows, rodeo, that all happens in the summer. And then I freaking love my winter times because I hibernate.
Yeah.
And whatever data I gathered over the summer, I go home in the winter and it's my time in the lab. I'm like, sweet, I can take in some extra outside horses. The ones that I rode out all summer, I can go and soften back up. The babies that have been sitting there getting fat, I can pull in and pet on them and pick up their feet. So I think going in seasons is what helps kind of manage that. And it just comes naturally with livestock and anything in ranching. You've got
for sure
times a year where you just have to kind of do what the job demands.
Sure.
And that's somehow kind of worked out in my favor because I just enjoy spending, I'm about to go home and we'll have one more month of riding. And then I'm kind of looking at
start getting cold.
I'm looking at the indoor for like the next 6 months. But I have 4 months of stuff like this that I just did where I get to go home and think on how to apply that. And then I come out next spring for like, you know, branding season and gathering season, and I'm ready. I'm like, cool, I have stuff to try.
Yeah.
And I think that's how I juggle it, because otherwise I wouldn't do a good job at any of it.
Right, yeah.
And I've done that. Like, that's why I know, because I did try out for a while taking X amount of outside horses, and I looked back and I said, well, I did a deliverable job, but for me, I'd rather do less, just like you said.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather take less clients or do less things and just make sure what I am doing I'm like successful at. Because otherwise, it's like, what's the point?
Right.
And that goes too for not taking certain horses.
Sure.
That was a super hard learning curve. Because you start in...
That is, especially if you're a little bit hungry.
Yeah, or you're starting out and like you need the money, or you think you need to help the horse, and kind of learning like, that's not gonna either fit my timeline or be something that I can help with. Like, that was a hard learning curve of just figuring out, say yes to what you can do really well and stick with it.
And that's an ego deal too.
Yeah.
You know, it really is being able to say, that's not a horse I can advance. There's nothing I can do with that horse.
Or want to.
Want to is a big part of it too. But
yeah.
You know, either that horse is going to take so much time that I'm not going to get these other ones rode, or that horse has the potential to really hurt me, or I don't want to deal with that horse. Or for me, this has been the resounding one. I don't want to deal with that client.
Ooh, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the horse, and I can make him really good. I just don't like you.
Yeah.
You know, but those are all ego things where when we're starting in this industry, we're like, I'm going to ride all of them, and I'm going to make all of them better.
And make all the money and do it great.
Make all the money and do it great, and have nice hair while I'm doing it. But you know, once you start getting into it and maturing into the business, you go, I'm gonna have to do this or this or this, and in some cases we can do this, and this, but we still have to consolidate what we're doing and
quality over quantity.
Exactly.
Well, and I think that transcends horsemanship in the sense that anybody that moves into a space where you could call it entrepreneurial or anything where you're trying to build something on your own, I think we learn that customer service is all about saying yes to everything, or relationships too, right? Like we could go even farther, that there's this people pleasing that you learn of, like produce and make deliverables and be this.
Customer's always right. You got to smile
and that's true, and you should carry that. But there's this other piece that maybe you only learn like when you go out and now it is just you. But like, you don't always have to do the thing for the other person or make that person happy. Or sometimes it is about kind of being really aggressively accountable with yourself of like you said, you got to shut your ego off and say, what am I good at? What am I bad at?
Right.
Am I okay with that?
Right.
Get okay with it, because otherwise you shouldn't be with horses, frankly. But, you know, like, and horses will humble you, and that's what I love about them. But yeah, just learning that better business doesn't just mean like kind of being a doormat or saying yes to everything.
Right.
Better business might be, I have to say no to outside horses for 6 months because I need to go to Texas and ride with Brett, or like, and do things like that is right for you and right for your program and your horses. Because like right now I have 3 personals that are riding age, and that's a lot of
work right there.
That's a lot of responsibility, and they deserve my time.
Sure.
So I owe it to those horses back home. And I have a few client horses right now, and I love the clients I have. Like, thank you, God, I have the best people in my life. And I mean that. Like, every client that I have is a friend. They say your clients become friends faster than the other way around. Every client I have, I love. And I owe them a good version of me and, like, a present version of me. And so that came from being like, well, okay, what can I be good at? And where do I have to draw a line? And that was like a hard learning curve, but now I think I can more confidently say, like, here's what I do and who I am. And, you know, I'm not the next Pat Pirelli or the next, like, Sean Flaherty, but, you know, we do our niche and work hard.
We've all got a spot.
And you just work there.
I think that's really important what you just said there. And, you know, being present for your horses, being present for your clients, et cetera, et cetera.
And the people in your life.
And
that goes deeper. Also your wife at home or your husband or your best friend.
That's actually where I was going.
Oh, really?
The deal is that I assume probably in any industry, I haven't been in any other industry.
Yeah.
But in equine industry, there's so much burnout because we tend to put so much pressure on ourselves. And a lot of that's because there's so much overhead involved. A lot of it's because there's so much ego involved.
Money.
There's all kinds of stuff going on. But we tend to take so much pressure, try to ride too many horses, try to please too many people, try to have the nicest pickup in the parking lot, et cetera, that the next thing you know, you're working for that image. You're not riding your horses. You're not working for your horses. You're not working for your clients. And then you burn out. And you know what? I'd rather make less money, not much, but I'd rather make less money, ride less horses, and enjoy what I'm doing, and have my horses enjoy what's going on, and have the people I work for have them feel like they're getting their money's worth.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I've done it the other way too, where I had more. I didn't even know the names of my clients. I had so damn many of them. I didn't even know the names of their horses. I just went through and just rode everything in the barn.
And I'm sure they were great. They're good horses, but
yeah, I didn't know. I know the horses they were getting ridden, they were getting work, and it was to a degree good work, I guess. But they weren't getting the best. The horses weren't getting the best of me. The clients damn sure weren't getting the best of me. The boss wasn't getting the best of me. I wasn't getting any part of me.
Dang.
And for there was one summer in particular that sticks in my mind where I really did that bad. It was the first year that we were fixing to have a kid, and I was like, shoot, we gotta make more money. We gotta ride more. And so nobody got the best of me. I got the worst of all of me. And when it was all said and done, the IRS counted another $10,000 or something, and I was like, that was a lot of fucking work for 10 grand. You know, piss on it.
Piss on it. I'd rather go home a little earlier.
Let's go back to doing what I was doing. 10 grand's not life-changing money.
10 grand ain't worth all that.
No.
Dude, that's so funny. No, it's funny because it's so true.
Yeah.
And I think too, not to downplay the fact that when you're getting started, and sometimes like that's what the job freaking asks of you. So that's not to say like that one program is better, but
there's times like breeding season.
Yes.
And sure, that's
or that ranch you guys worked on. You had to start 400 colts in a summer, or at least a year. Well,
you kind of mistranslated something there, but anyway, go on.
Oh, sorry. Well, I guess just when sometimes you show up somewhere as an employee or whatever the job is, and it might be that there's more work than you can sit here and be like, this is how I want to do it.
Superhuman amount of stuff to do, yeah.
Right, and I think that's also, it's maybe like you got to pay the troll toll a little, like that's a moment where in the job you do have to figure it out. And it took a really long time for me to figure out what I needed to do, and even longer to make that happen and facilitate it. Most of the time it was like, good, I got a job, it's not perfect, and I have to kind of come in here and figure out how to make my skill set fit.
Yeah.
So not to say like to cowboys and horse trainers that are in that program where they're loping 12 a day, like there's still a lot you can learn and a lot you can offer in those positions.
Sure.
And I think that being able to do that and put it in your hat is important.
There's some good skills to learn in that, and
Yeah.
there's like, I don't regret any of it.
Yeah.
But you know, the other way is better. And what I was going to say, when you said it took you a long time, you're 26, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, you're ahead of the curve for well, and I just, we've talked about this already since you've been here. You're ahead of the curve for understanding theory and being able to see something and go, oh, this is why you're doing, like you've said stuff to me over the weekend, you go, oh, are you doing this because of XYZ? And I go, yeah. And then I think to myself, man, that was so much simpler than explaining it to her like I would have had to do to everybody else. Like you can see stuff and see what's going on, and then you're really, really mature in the business part of it. And then also in the, I don't know exactly what the word for this is, but like however you take care of yourself, like holistic part of it, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, but and so you're way ahead. You know, at 26, everybody from my graduating class of horsemanship, you know, we were still wrecking cars and stuff. Trying to figure out how to do this, and so you're ahead of the curve in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You know, so you're doing a great job. You roped really poorly, but
that rope is a little dead. That rope's a little dead. Yeah.
Let's pause this. We'll take a short break because I have to use the men's. And we're back. We should have some kind of a thing that we do when we come back, but we don't. So
Slogan.
slow kid.
A slogan. No.
Oh, I thought you were calling me a slow kid. Hey, just because I'm autistic doesn't mean you're allowed to call me the slow kid.
Slogan.
Okay, a slogan. Yeah. Doesn't Hormel Chili have a slogan?
We could honestly come up with one probably faster.
They probably could.
They have all the one-liners. Kill the beast.
Sorry, she'll just edit it.
Oh. No, that's I know that. I knew that, and
She knew that, folks. She knew it. We told her. We said, there's one rule. You have one rule.
you have one job.
And you screwed it up. That's it. Cut. We had the question of your friend of the...
Yes. I have an honorary question. Okay, so this
What's an honorary question?
An honorary question because he's not with us, but it's a question that he had for you. So
Okay.
we're gonna...
Oh, and it's submitted in writing. Perfect.
Yep. So this is from my friend James Phillips.
Red.
Red?
That's the answer.
Oh, yes. It's about utilizing packing
Oh, that's right.
in a colt starting situation. We've talked about horses that mature longer term conformationally, like your warm bloods, your Lusitanos. So on those horses where you're not riding until 5 or 6,
Right.
what do you think about kind of getting them saddle broke and doing, like we talked about the circus pole
Yep.
for a 30-day, do a 30-day start and then giving them the chance to kind of pack for a year or carry pack saddles? Because what my friend and I were talking about that brought this question up was the theory that horses only buck if they're off balance. Colts. Colts only bounce.
I agree almost 100%. I think anybody that says that, and I'm one of the people that says that same thing.
Yep.
And I think everybody that kind of goes with that agrees almost 100% that they only buck if they're off balance, / hurt, / really, really mad. But it's almost always only if they're off balance.
Right. So I guess then the piggyback of it would be what James and I were talking about, because he makes really nice horses that he ropes on, does the bridle horse, big loop, and I've ridden the horses, they're amazing. And then so it's always, for the next one, we're always looking at how do we be better, and that's what him and I talked about, because we both have yearling stud colts that we want to be, like anything, like a better representation of what we can do, because we're going to be older. So how can we set them up to be better balanced going into that first ride, provided we have extra years to do it?
Okay, so I'm going to hit that on several different fronts. And the reason I'm telling you that is that in case I somehow get so far off the topic that I forget to answer the
We're
question.
coming back around, folks.
This is
Come back
what did the redheaded chick that worked for Biden say? We're circling back.
We'll circle back.
We'll circle back. No, just in case I get off in la la land.
We're here for it.
So I've got several different things to say about all that. I totally get the not really putting much of a start on them until they're 3-ish, till they're a little more mature. They've got a couple of more, and really it's only a couple of more growth
And
plates.
not to interrupt, but also like this is considering a lot of handling, right? So also,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
just okay, yeah,
Yeah.
just speaking off that. Anyways,
Yeah, no, okay, we'll just, for a second, we'll stop off at that. Yeah, if it comes down to, no, we roll them in off the desert as 3-year-olds and start them, I think that's dumb. I've done that.
Concur.
I think it's dumb. You're going to hurt horses. You're going to get yourself hurt. It's not going to make a better horse. It's going to make a worse
there's
horse.
shit you should do when they're babies,
Right.
and it's not just coddle them either. Like you
Right.
should have them working. So assuming
Yeah.
copy.
So we're kind of on the same page there. Yeah, we're gonna train our horse. We're gonna work the horse. It's just not gonna be riding training.
Yes.
So I still say I would rather see them get started under saddle with rides as 2-year-olds.
Okay.
And when I say 2-year-old, I'm going 20 to 30 months
Okay.
is what I'm calling a 2-year-old. Well, of course, 48 months is still technically, no, not 48. Let's not do math on a camera, Brett.
Yeah,
But
it's like me roping on camera.
Yeah. That's kind of my 2-year-old zone there. I still want to see them started as 2-year-olds. What I think people, especially the start them at 3-year-old crowd, sees is they see a lot of reiners, cutters, rein cow horse trainers. Those are kind of the main ones in Western. starting them at 8.
Guys.
Yeah, it wasn't,
But
not a big
it's
deal.
what it is.
Not a big deal. I mean, I've been a part of that world, so I can pick on it. Starting them at 18 months and putting the hammer down and really mashing them because there's a ton of money involved in it, yada, yada, yada. And then you blow suspensories, which is funny because a lot of the people in the wait till they're older camp are talking about growth plates and this and that. And like the science says that the growth plates don't, like that's, doesn't matter. You're not helping them by waiting until they're 36 months.
Yeah.
Or 48 months or whatever with the growth plates. But with suspensories and with ligaments and tendons and things, you are, if you're not in deep sand, putting the hammer down and mashing them. I totally get where everybody's coming from. I've done it. I probably will do it again. It's part of my life. I would prefer to be in that 20 to 30-ish month range to put somewhere between 5 and 10 rides on 2-year-olds. And those rides consist of, like when we were in Arizona and I had all the time in the world with those ranch horses, those rides consisted of some groundwork, little work under saddle, and then the first 3 or 4 rides, I was pretty much just sitting on them and kind of guiding them around. I usually had a pony horse helping me get them guided around. It was walk trot. If they wanted to lope around a little, they could lope around a little, but I was real careful not to ever let them go very fast where they could get scared or get hurt. And then the next maybe 5, say I was putting 10 rides on them, the next 5 maybe asking them for a little more, like turning into the fence and stopping and getting a few steps back. To me, that's ideal, and it's ideal to do it in that 2-year-old time, and it really doesn't have to be 5 to 10 rides in a row.
Yeah.
That could be, to me, that can be 5 to 10 rides in that 20 to 30 month window.
That's a lot of time for a little bit of saddle, right? And that's not bad.
Yeah,
at all.
that's 10 months at 7 to 12 minutes under saddle at a walk trot and maybe a lope and kind of getting pulled around and wheeled around.
So it's part of their life.
It's just part of their life. And then I'm with the wait till they're older crowd is then as a mid to late 3-year-old, then we can start working them a little bit, getting a little sweat on their neck and doing some stuff.
Yeah.
So that's my personal view of it, is I really would still rather see them start as 2-year-olds. And my main reason for that is, as 2-year-olds, if I make a mistake and that horse gets worried, scared, if Buck Ramlin was here, we'd say troubled. Sorry, Buck, I got to pick on you.
It's true.
Things like that, that horse isn't strong enough to hurt itself.
Right.
You know, if he does want to grab and run a little bit, he doesn't have enough gas to grab and run long enough to really hurt a tendon or a suspensory or anything like that. If he wants to kind of buck around a little bit, which like anymore, I haven't had a colt buck in a long time.
For you.
But if they want to kind of buck around a little bit, they're not strong enough to buck hard enough to hurt themselves. Where if we wait until they're a full 3-year-old and we make a mistake, then they are strong enough to hurt themselves. And so, to me, I'm kind of juggling the lesser of two evils there, where I'd like to start them younger. Mm-hmm. It gives me an opportunity, but basically, and this maybe isn't the best way of thinking, but it is the way I think. Starting them earlier gives me the opportunity to mess up and have it not have an effect.
And they, not to downplay their intelligence, but they'll kind of forget.
They'll forgive.
They'll forgive and forget
They're
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I can kind of back that up a little with the first horse that I bought and started without having them earlier in their life. The first horse I bought as a 3-year-old point, like, really hurt himself badly and being tied up. And I didn't know that horse before. I don't know how he got halter broke. I don't know how I bought him, and after it happened, he was tied up and pulled back really hard, and he was so heavy at that point. After it happened, it was one of those things where I did kind of go home and think, well, dude, I wish he had done that when he was a yearling or 2, because he was so big and strong that it was so much worse than, Like,
And then this is an insensitive thing to say, but we have to get down to economics with a lot of this too. We have to get down to profitability too. Is that if that horse had pulled back and hurt himself as a yearling instead of as a 3-year-old, you've got a year and a half less invested in him.
yeah.
Less invested into a crippled horse.
Well, or if they're going to be one that blows up like that, if they're going to show their cards, like, show it earlier.
Right.
And you could make it, even if money feels insensitive, you could make it about time, because that's equal. I mean, like, you know, if you have a 3-year-old that you've been riding since they were 2, you're going to know it really well, versus a 2-year-old you've been just kind of feeding and letting sit.
Right.
Yeah, but I do agree with that now, coming off of the backside of that experience, where maybe before I would have said, oh no, leave him alone longer. But after that, I was like, I freaking wish I had done more with that horse.
And so what I was going with there is, in my ideal world, that's what would happen is I get, 5, 10, maybe 12 rides in that window. And then from then until they're a 3-year-old, they still get caught. I'm really big on hanging dummy bits, on hanging full bridles in their mouth with no reins and no curb strap, and just letting them stand for hours and hold it in that 2 and 3-year-old time. This bit doesn't fit them, but I like them to be able to play with it and learn how to get their tongue relaxed and stuff like that. Do things with them, pick their feet up, yada, yada, yada. Do all that stuff. And then, again, ideally in my ideal world, then go ahead and start putting some miles on them, some small miles on them as 3-year-olds. Now, I'm going to talk about a whole lot of different aspects of this.
Good. Perfect.
So that's my ideal. What I've seen so much is people have kind of a similar ideal of that, and then go, what I said was such a broad spectrum of time. People have that similar ideal and then not be able to keep track of the time and be able to monitor where they're at. And then end up with a full 3-year-old, maybe, late in the 3-year-old year, that's got 3 rides. And I really didn't pick his feet up very much, because I kept thinking, oh, I've got time. I didn't hang a bit in his mouth. I didn't put him around the circus pole. I didn't do this because I kept putting it off because I had time. And now this horse is a late 3-year-old, and then what they end up doing is put the hammer down. What the hell, you're a big tough sucker. And then rather than taking them on a 3, 4, 5 mile circle to go gather cows in the trap or lope around or do whatever you're going to do, end up putting a bigger day on that horse than that horse really needed, because they're big and strong, they're kind of wolfy acting, blah, 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 blah. And so that then goes back to my original premise of starting as 2-year-olds. Now I hurt him. Where if I'd started as a 2-year-old and already had those baby steps, I wasn't going to hurt him. So I see a bunch of that. Now, we'll get into the actual bones of what your friend said about packing them and things like that. I think, to a certain degree, anything you can do from... So, let me rewind that a little bit. I like to wean them, or I like to halter break them right after I wean them. We've just been doing that. These have been weaned for like 2 weeks, which is a little longer than I normally wait, but I was kind of waiting on you.
Yeah.
Always waiting on some girl. But just had to get that dig in there.
It was a good one. I was going to say 2 weeks ago is when I bought my ticket. So, and then they pulled the babies out. Yeah.
I like to wean them, or halter break them right shortly after I wean them. Get them to where I can catch them, even if I got to kind of corner them, even if I got to rope them still, and get them to where I can halter them, kind of drag them around, load them in the trailer, tie them up. Then I don't really jack with them at all till they're a long yearling. From that long yearling on until whenever I start putting the hammer down and really riding them, any amount of stuff I can do, I think is great. And I go the extra mile compared to a lot of people, and really compared to a lot of these wait till they're older people, in the sense that I'll load that trailer full of babies and go to Costco. And they get a trip up the freeway, they get the whole 9 yards, they get to stand in the trailer and swat flies, they get people going around, of course, at the gas station, oh, can I pet your horse? Yeah, stick your hand in there.
Yeah.
bite your fingers off.
And we did that with all the babies when we were done halter breaking, and we stuck them in the trailer and went and got some.
Yeah, that was day 2.
It was. Yeah, it was day 1 actually for Dally.
For the one, yeah.
For the last
We went
one.
to the gas station, bought sunflower seeds.
Yep.
And so that's what I mean. Anything you can do up to and including packing them. Now we get to packing, and so like the hair on the back of my neck kind of stood up.
I can see it. Yeah.
When you said packing the other day. So I've got just enough experience packing to be dangerous. In the sense I worked for some outfitters when I was in my tweens and early teens.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to pack, kinda, which means I can pack my bedroll and some stuff on a mule and take it somewhere. Doesn't mean I'm good at it, because a true packer, like, that's an art, and
Right.
It's not something that I am.
We'd be talking about borrowing a piece of their whole world just
Right.
for the sake of training.
Right.
Yeah, more. Yeah, I agree with you. My packing is I tie something to the saddle strings.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And would you order?
That's it.
And I know a lot of guys. I know a lot of ranch cowboys and stuff that will put like a stripped down old wore out saddle that stirrup leathers are gone and this and that. And they'll put them on those babies and tie lunch and a slicker on there and pony them around while they're going and checking fence, things
Yeah.
like that. And then kind of the in between of all that would be like taking one of those young horses and maybe packing salt or packing mineral to cows.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's sort of our small, medium, large dosings of that. So my only thing with packing is generally when we pack, especially if we're taking like an old crappy saddle and putting it on baby, that saddle's a piece of junk. And maybe it wasn't a piece of junk when it was made, but it's a piece of junk now, that's why we put it on baby. So maybe that tree's warped, maybe that rigging's twisted, this and that. So we run a big risk of building some resent in that horse by having some maybe it's just a pinch, but just having a pinch or a little bit of pain in those saddles, in those saddling days, and getting packed.
That's actually really important to say because most people will not put a good saddle on a colt first time.
No, why would you?
Right, yeah, and so that's definitely something to think about as the people are like, oh, let's throw this crappy saddle up.
Well, and for years I rode colts in that saddle and this saddle, and these are handmade full flower tool saddles, and people would say, why in the hell are you riding babies in a hardwood? And I'd say, well, why wouldn't I ride him in my best saddle? I owe it to this horse to put the best saddle I possibly can on it. This 12-year-old gelding that knows his way around, he's not going to get sore or resentful over having something not fit or pinch him. But there's two different ways of thinking.
Yeah.
And I totally understand other people's, and I'm kind of more that way now that, let this little outlaw wear some old piece of crap 1976 Circle Y saddle that he can't tear it up, and if he does, I don't care.
Yeah.
I understand the thinking, but we end up maybe building some resentment there. Then when we get into like actual packing them, whether we're packing mineral or packing salt, or you're a fishing guide, or maybe you're just a guy that likes to go fishing and you pack your bedroll and 2 nights worth of meals on a colt, and like realistically, that 80 pounds of stuff, they ought to be able to. It's not going to hurt them.
Yeah.
To trot up the creek 12 miles packing that. If all your knots are correct, if you've got your pack balanced, if you're a better packer than I am. And there's kind of where I get into the packing mineral, packing salt, or even packing some stuff and going on a fishing trip.
Yeah.
I know just enough about packing to know what I don't know. And I know that I'm not very good at balancing a pack. I can tie a box hitch, I can sort of tie a diamond hitch, but I don't necessarily have it to where it holds the pack off the horse to where it won't hurt it. And so, and I don't know as much as a real packer, but I know more than most people do about it.
Right.
And so I see other people doing it and I go, yeah, you think you're helping that horse out, and you think you're helping yourself out down the road by packing some mineral on that colt, but really you're just soring him up and making him resentful. So I'm kind of on the fence about the packing deal. exposure
Right.
is great. We're sacking them out. That's great. They're getting to travel. They're traveling behind a somewhat broke horse, and they're getting confidence by being outside and by being with another horse. There's all these really good things about it. There's the possibility of these bad things about it. So that's why I don't ever say yay or nay about that. What I say is like, well, how good are you at packing? What are we packing? What do you know about this?
That makes sense.
Because I want people to know that, yes, there is all these obvious, really good parts of it, but then there's these other things that a lot of people don't think about just because they don't have the experience to think about it. So that's my deal with packing. And then before you, and I'll give you a chance here in a second, but then you also talked about doing lots of other things with them, with your babies.
Or just by the time they're packing that they should have. It shouldn't be like the first thing you do.
No, obviously
right,
not.
yeah.
But we were talking about circus pole and I'm all about spending a lot of time with those youngsters going around the circus pole. I'm all about spending a lot of time if I'm cowboying, if I'm going to check fence or I'm putting out salt or whatever. I'm all about taking a baby with me that has nothing on them.
Yeah, take him to clinic.
I've got a pack mule because that's what a mule's for. I don't care if they get a sore back, they're a mule. And I've got a baby with me. And that baby's just happy crappy going with. Taking them to clinics with you, ponying them around while you're warming up, leaving them tied to the trailer all day.
Yeah.
Taking them to Costco. All of those other things, I say the more you can do, the better.
So, what I'm hearing, and you can tell me if this is wrong or not, but to quote your book again, since that's, if you guys haven't read it, but you talk about
it's totally unfair to quote a book that I wrote 10 years ago.
I'm going to make you talk about it. I'm going to make you talk about it, but you talked about the seat being the most important aid that you have, period. So, I guess that's not even a quote, it's just theory. It's what you think. And I guess what I'm hearing is better than packing them up with all this moderately, maybe it's comfy, maybe it's not type of crap stuff. Would your solution then be if you want to make that horse the most, let's say we want to make spade bit horses, right? Sure. These are not client horses. This is a personal bridle horse. Okay. So, okay. Would you say the answer is just make sure you have a freaking damn good seat when you do get on, whenever that is, and be the most balanced rider you can?
Yeah.
That's...
Yeah, I would say, and that goes into a totally different part of training, but yes, I would say I would rather have those first handful of rides, whatever age they're at, have them super prepared, have them where they're confident, blah, 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 blah. But I also want, if it's me as the rider, I want to be sure it's a time when I've been hitting that rowing machine every day, 20 minutes a day for months. It's not the end of winter or the end of, the end of winter. It's not the end of winter where I've been laying around drinking beer all winter and I'm fat and sassy and hell, I can ride that stuff. I want, as the rider, because my seat is so important, I want to bring the best I possibly can to that horse to help him.
Oh, yeah.
A block of salt's not going to help him. It'll sack him out, and I guess I'll go back to that. That sacking him out and that exposure is great. But if a horse is trained and they're confident in themselves and they're confident in me and they're confident in what they know and they're confident in the program, I want my horses to think I'm the scariest son of a bitch on the planet. And that's why they're not afraid of anything, because they're with me. And that's like having Mike Tyson got your back when you walk in the bar. I'll talk shit to anybody because I got Mike Tyson with me. That's how I want my horse to
I love
feel
that.
about me. Like,
great.
I got the baddest MF in the world with me, so like, I'm not scared of you, Tarp. I ain't Brett with me.
Yeah, that's great.
So that's what I want my horses to feel like that. So consequently, exposure and sacking out aren't a big part of my program. I say that after I got done saying, I'd take them to Costco with me.
No, that's different than sacking out, though.
Well, but that is exposure.
What do we call it? Like passive. That's time that they're tied up. They're thinking you're not like, you're just letting them experience that versus standing there with a bull noodle and hoping that makes.
Right.
Not that that's what we're talking about.
No, but
I know you and I agree on that.
That's different than trotting miles with the saddle on, getting used to packing the saddle.
Yeah.
You know, I want to put those first rides on and bring in my best program to them, my best self to them, and then I want them to be able to have so much faith in me that they're not scared of anything because they've got me, and they trust in me, and so I don't disagree with somebody and your friend taking them and packing them and going with. I don't disagree with it. I think guys should be really, really careful about it and really think about, why am I doing this? What exactly am I doing? Weigh all the consequences. Like, could I potentially be doing more harm than I am doing good? And if you've got, like, trust me, I would do way more of what we're talking about, packing them around, if I had the opportunity. So I'm not against it.
Right.
But I'm just real careful about it. And to me, it's easier to have a good saddle, to be right in my mind, and to have spent a bunch of time on that rowing machine to help my horse than it is to pack salt on him. I can do more with that rowing machine than I can packing salt.
That's fair. That's totally fair. Well,
so that's how when it all comes down to it, that's my final answer, Reese.
That's the resounding solution.
Yeah.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense because I don't know, if we do those first rides when we're really tuned up, like at least for me, if I'll go ride like the best horses I have and then have that in my mind when I go do those first rides.
Sure.
I have almost like a bar to kind of like not reach for, but you ride them all the same, right? You're supposed to ride the horse that you want,
right?
And treat them like they know what they're doing, like they're doing a good job.
Now,
so
second ride colts like they're bridle horses.
Just coming in confident, having that relationship with them where they already feel like you've got their back, and just that can do just as much as packing them early. That makes sense.
Yeah. And then, like I say, there's two sides of the coin. If packing them is the best way you're going to get the opportunity to spend time with them, then by all means do that. If the way your program's set up, or your life is set up, or your day is set up, or the ranch you work for is set up, that really the only time you get to spend quality time with that 2 or 3 year old or yearling or whatever is to take them with you, well then I say that's better than doing nothing,
right?
For sure.
Right.
Everything else I said aside, I would rather see somebody do something than nothing. But if you're going to do something, I would like to see some people weigh all the options on it.
Well, this kind of reminds me of the thoroughbred that I have is different in the sense that everything that I normally would want to have perfect on the ground, she actually handles a little better when I'm on her back supporting her. And you and I talked about the fact that like she's a thoroughbred, so she kind of is wired to. She's really gritty.
Have somebody have a hold of her. They're gritty, but they need support.
She's gritty, and she's the first horse I've ever had where if I left her to her own devices, she wouldn't find the answer as fast as if I was actually in there with her, which kind of goes against everything that I had thought about, like be as low impact as possible and stay out of their way and make it perfect. I
disagree about that.
And she disagreed too, and she said, actually, no, like your best spot and the way you can help me the most is get on my back.
Be my teacher.
Be my teacher.
Don't be my friend.
No, and she asked me to step into that role, and I think a lot of those more like high caliber horses, like you said, you can't just sit there and try to like baby talk and get along with them the whole way, but you have to be a leader that comes in and says, I've got you, we're going to do this together, we have a job, and then making it about the job, which Amy said this yesterday, you've got to convince that horse that like you guys are ready to go to war together. And if you can make the job bigger than whatever's going on with you that day or whatever you want your horse to do, like instead of that, go do it together.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to help me go home and work better with that horse, because I was feeling like it was a failure with me as a colt starter, that she wasn't perfectly prepared like my other ones had been. Right. Whatever that means, checking my boxes. She was like, no, I want it this way. And then she would be successful. And if I put her back over here, she wasn't successful. And in my head, I was like, well, I have to have both or I'm not doing it right. And, you know, the kind of resounding solution was like, nope, it's time to cowboy up and like freaking put your rope down and just go do it. And she responded to it.
Well, and I think especially if you're in the tribe that where I was going to go with, Roy Cleveland told us, he's from Nebraska. They raised a lot of really nice rope horses. They had a huge roping arena. So what they would do was every evening, there was a pile of them Clevelands. They would all ride their 2-year-olds in the arena. They'd ride around, fart around, do whatever they were going to do. And whenever anybody on any colt, when they got to a good spot to quit, they'd get off and hobble their colt in the arena. And then they'd go get on their rope horses and rope. And there'd be colts hobbled all through the arena.
Yeah.
And that was a time when those colts had to go, oh, geez, what's going on here? and had to kind of get exposed and learn about life. Those 2-year-olds, that's a good time in their mind to be doing that and to be finding things going on around them. As 3-year-olds, if you let them be that independent and that mature in their mind, which is it's only a few months more, but they're so much more mature and they're so much more independent that then you have to be responsible for them, and you have to, like you were just saying, you have to be part of this. This is not you figuring it out on your own. This is us doing it
together.
And I think that's the main difference between the starting them as 2-year-olds versus starting them as 3-year-olds deal. And that's probably one of the main, I was talking about injuries and stuff like that, but when it really comes down to it, I prefer to start them as 2-year-olds because it's easier. Because I don't have to be everything to everybody with a 2-year-old. I ride them around 5 minutes and I go, good, you went, stop, turn, you go, stop, turn. That's all you need to do. I get off, I'm done.
Go to your water.
Go to water.
Yeah.
With a 3-year-old, you got to be a little more proactive.
And maybe more presence to you.
More present.
A little bit more of like guiding them. Yeah.
I can ride 2-year-olds all day and never think about what I'm doing. Because all I'm doing is go, stop, turn you once, turn you twice, turn back up. Dude, we're done.
Yeah.
Those 3-year-olds, they need more from you because they can do more. And so then you have to be more present. And then we're getting into what we were talking about the very first night you were here, where 3, 4, maybe 5 horses a day is a full day.
Mm-hmm. Especially when they're that age.
When they're that age, because you've got to put that much effort into them. Where if they're 2, 14, you can get through 14 of them easy.
Yeah, you shouldn't be on something, like, if you're on a 2-year-old for over an hour, like...
If you're on them for 15 minutes, you're going haywire.
Right, so you can burn, totally.
So that's the answer to my packing deal. I hope Philip doesn't hate me for it.
No, it was just something that you hear it tossed around when you're talking to different people about what they're doing, and we both had kind of heard about that, and we're like, well, is that the better way to make them, by the time you get on, they're like, oh, thank God, he's so balanced, but it sounds like you're kind of saying, don't bother, just get on and be balanced.
That's kind of how I feel.
Fair enough.
And I'll end it before we go to the next subject. This makes sense to me as far as differentiating. So I know the Clark family in Wyoming fairly well. Mm-hmm. They raise a lot of mules, incredible hands. They're good hands with horses too. They're good hands with everything, but they raise a lot of mules. They're really good with mules. And those guys will pack those mules sometimes all summer, sometimes until they're 5 or 6 before they really ride them. And then it is kind of, those mules are so much smarter than horse.
Yeah, mules are a whole different deal.
And then those mules are kind of like, hey, this is way gooder. You kind of help me out. This isn't just a bunch of heavy stuff on my back wallering around. And but a mule thinks totally different than a horse.
Right.
And I think people try to cross that over because I really don't think a horse feels that way. I think they just get to where it just, life sucks. And now you're on me. Now life sucks with you on me. That's how I think it.
You avoid resentment at any and all costs.
I do. I try to.
Fair enough. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. I say I try to because I think we breed resentment in all these horses. If horses weren't as forgiving, and I'm stealing this directly from Tom Hagwood. If horses weren't as forgiving as they are, none of us would ever get past any of them. We can't help. We're so dishonest. We're so not unconventional. We don't do things right the same.
Inconsistent.
Inconsistent. Non-cognizant. Inconsistent was what I was actually. We're so bad at being alive that everything we do to a horse breeds resentment. The fact that they are so forgiving is the only thing we got going for us. And so to me, anything I can do to be less shitty, I'm going to try to do.
That makes sense.
And I think being on their back, I'm less shitty. I think a lot of other people are less shitty if they don't even catch them.
They're less shitty?
Yeah, I think a lot of other people. I think a lot of other people shouldn't catch them, shouldn't ride them.
Yeah.
I'll feed them for you, dude. You're not even good at that. But I think that I
have the way.
I think I'm better for them if I'm on their back than I am in most other situations.
That totally makes sense. So if you were going to make a spade bit horse tomorrow and that thing, one of them weanlings out there was going to be your next, or you thought maybe.
Sure.
Would your approach change? I think it would, but maybe if you're looking at that one and that's what you want him to be, how would your approach be different on that horse than something that you want to turn into an all-around, whatever, versatile? Okay. You're making your next personal. This can be a trainer horse. Nobody else ever has to ride this thing. What would your approach be on that?
So, like most of the things, I don't have a real straight-up answer for that. I have a roundabout answer for things. The way we should do it, the way I try to do everything, is I try to ride every single one of them. I try to treat every single one of them like they are a spade bit horse that I'm going to finish. Because to me, a finished spade bit horse is the creme de la creme.
Ultimate.
It's the ultimate. Now, whether
it's a really good answer. That's a good answer.
Whether that horse is a cutting horse or a roping horse or a dressage horse or a reining horse or whatever it is, I think it's all the same.
Perfect. Yeah.
So I try to ride every single one of them like I'm going to finish them as a spade bit horse. That's how I set my mind. Now, especially that I'm older, I was way more idealistic at one time and way better at that ideal. Now that I'm older, I'm more realistic about a lot of things, and I go, well, I know you're not going to be a spade bit horse. I know you're only going to be with me X amount of time. And while I still try to ride them that way because life has proven to me that some of these ones that I thought I was only going to have for 90 days, I end up owning till they're 19.
Tough.
Tough's the one that taught me that. I am more realistic in the sense that, I'll just be candid, I'm in South Texas. And so I know that most of these colts I'm riding will go on and be ridden by somebody from South Texas. Now, I don't mean anything at all against cowboys from South Texas, but they ride differently and they do things differently. And so I look at it as, can I show this colt a few ways to protect himself from what life is going to be like for him?
Yeah.
And so I try to incorporate that into some of my riding. Now, if I knew for sure, which we never do. But if I knew for sure, this is going to be my horse and I'm going to finish it as a
You thought as far as you could think on it.
And this and that and the other thing. Would I do some of those things? No, because I wouldn't need to.
Right.
But for the most part, I try to ride them all. So like low, slow, high out there, she's mine. I raised her, I bred her, I spent a bunch of money to get her. She's going to be mine. I'm going to finish her good, bad, or indifferent. With her, I still kind of put just a few little saves on her. In case you get sold, if I get in a fix and have to sell you, how can I help you out?
Oh, that makes
How can I give you a spot where you can save yourself from somebody that's got meat hooks for hands?
Meat hooks for hands. Well, that, not to interrupt, but that brings me to people that have this holier than thou.
Never put steel in their mouth.
They never put, and like, it's this whole wave of like thinking that you are the freaking next Gandhi if you don't ride your horse in a bit. I love a Boselle. I use a Boselle. I've got 3 right now that I'm riding in a Boselle.
Yeah.
But for me, it's an ethical save for the horse. If I die tomorrow, I'm sorry, but 90% of people that are going to ride this horse are going to ride in a bit.
Right on the snaffle bit.
Yeah, and I see people that are like, oh, we're going to do the whole bitless thing, and thinking that that's so much better for the horse. But I think that for that reason, that you just don't know what's going to happen in the future, you kind of owe it to them to put them in at least a bit.
Right.
You know? Because
it's the same reason I've always encouraged Amy to date other men. Kidding.
Ish.
No, I'm with you 100%, and that there's a whole nother argument there about, oh, we're holier than thou because we're only riding them in Hackmore. Well, this is
gnarly.
Potentially way gnarlier than a snaffle bit.
You can make them bleed it. Yeah. It's soft and nice.
Right. But that's a different conversation. But yeah,
right.
for
and I think everyone knows how we feel about that on its own.
But for the conversation we're having, yeah, I agree with you that like I try to give them a few safes, a few. Mm-hmm. Here's how you protect yourself from somebody that's not me.
I always ride them in spurs.
Yeah, me too.
I always ride them in spurs first ride.
But maybe protect them from me too. Like
fair.
God knows there's been times when I've had too much schnapps, and I'll show you boys what a broke horse looks like in the parking lot in the bar, and I teach them to protect themselves from me too. And I will quote Scott Van Leuven, who's one of my heroes and one of the best horsemen I've ever been around. It's something he said. He said he teaches all his personal horses. He says one of the first things I teach him is to be able to get pulled on. I teach him to know how to get pulled on.
Yeah.
Scott's got velvet hands. He's a spade bit man from way back. But he says I teach him how to get pulled on because someday somebody else is going to get on that horse's back, and the first thing they're going to do is pull on that horse.
With two reins.
They're just going to pull. He says, so that poor son of a buck better know how to do it and protect himself from it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I try to ride them all like I'm going to finish them and like they're going to be spade bit horses because that's my ideal.
And that's what makes them good.
Yeah.
That's the route we kind of take.
The ideal makes them good. The spade bit horse, whether your ideal is a spade bit horse or finished in a correction bit, whether that's your ideal, whatever. It's the ideal of this is what I want, and I ride you towards that. That's what makes them good.
It's like that Matthew McConaughey Oscar speech where he's like, who's my hero? My hero is who I am in the next 5 years, and I'm never going to catch him.
Cool. Yeah, I've never heard that, but that's awesome.
It's that moving ideal. To me, that's what the spade bit horse is. Like, I don't have one in it, but it's that moving ideal. And maybe I'm 52 before. Like, I have a friend, Jeremy, that he has the Wild Courage podcast, and I rode with him this year, and he was on his first spade bit horse he ever made. Yeah. It was a Mustang. And he pulled up next to me. He goes, I was 50-something before I made a spade bit horse.
Right.
Because I wanted to do it right. I didn't want to be one of those guys that had a horse and a spade bit. Right. And I thought, what a cool thing, man. Like, yeah, that's just a moving bar. Even if you ride for 40 years and you might not hit it. Right. Like you said, the ideal is what makes the picture.
And then your seventh spade bit horse, you look back on the first one, you went, oh, that sucked. That sucked. Like, that was a great horse. That horse saved my life. I loved that horse. I'm thinking of 10. He wasn't your first spade bit horse, but he was one of the first ones that you put in a spade bit. And, like, he was a complete masochist.
I'm feeling like that's Amy's type of horse. She's
maybe just
Amy's type of male. But, but then 5 spade bit horses down the road, you go, 10 Schmen. Like, I loved him. You loved him. I didn't much. I protected myself from him. But that's, no, I think you're totally right on that. That's, we all need to build, whatever our ideal is, we need to build that. We need to build towards that. But then we got to set them up for success. Your example of I might die tomorrow, my example is more like I might get fired tomorrow and have to sell them. Whatever.
You never know.
We need to set them up to be successful in life when they're not with us. And so, I try to give them those tools.
Yeah.
Those tools.
No, that's a good answer. I think that's the best.
It's the only answer I got, so.
That's all we got. Well, and then as far as like what we have to do as people to get horses there, the horsemanship planner that you guys just came out with, like.
She is the segue master. You're fired, producer. We got a new producer.
I'll just be the intern. I told Amy I'd come back to babysit. You guys want date nights.
Yeah, talk about this. So before you get started, we came up with this horsemanship planner. It's a yearly planner. It's something that, and this is, I'm going to toot my own horn here. I don't ever want to do things that are just for profit. Like, I try to be profitable.
If we wanted to, it'd be in a different business.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be working for Enron or something. Probably not them because they're gone. But anyway, I try to do things that are really going to work and really going to actually help people in this and that. This is an idea that I took somebody else's idea and changed it to make this, but I think it's a good idea.
With permission from them.
With
you
permission
did ask.
from them.
It was asked.
And so this is the Horsemanship Planner. You've got the very first one. You're the prototype. So give us the kind of the rundown on what you see in there, and good and bad. Like, have you got a chance to see some things that you would change?
Well, this is the moving target, right? We're talking about the spade bit horse of like, what's your ideal? That's also us, and for me, I think this is a piece of like getting that on paper.
Right.
Okay,
That's the idea.
We've talked a shit ton about thoughts,
Theory,
talking about it, but
feelings.
what's the hard part is like, go home when nobody's watching. Are you doing that? Are you living that way? Are you riding that way?
Getting on the rowing machine.
Yeah, are you getting on the rowing machine? Yeah, and I think resounding, the solution to that is like accountability and getting it on paper. There's like, I know it's a buzzword about manifesting and productivity and stuff, but I don't think there's any substitute for like writing stuff down.
And
journaling.
especially in the digital world that we were talking about
Yes.
earlier, we're in this digital world. It's too easy to forget.
Yeah.
And if you write it down, and like I see you pack a notebook around, I pack.
Yeah,
a
we
notebook
both
around.
pack our little notebooks.
I write stuff down. That's the only way I get anything done is by putting it down on paper, and then it's real.
Well, and there's science behind that. Like, that's not a wishy-washy thing at all. And Amy was talking about kind of in the route of teaching kids things, you have to learn how you learn. My favorite teacher in my whole life, she was a Harvard English teacher. She made us all do experiments on how we best memorize stuff. And she gave us a list of things that we had to do and memorize. And one, we just thought about it. One, we did it on a computer. And one, we did it on pen and paper. And the reason I carry a notebook around and appreciate stuff like this so much is because everybody,
The whole class.
did better writing it down.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, oh, by a little bit. It was like, no, your brain works differently.
So it's like 60 to 70%.
Yeah, it's huge. I think the likelihood of you reaching a goal if you write it down increases by 40%.
Right.
When you write it down. That was a Fallon Taylor quote. Maybe it's changed, but I don't know. I think that just kind of, that's the biggest thing is like the opening questions, which Brett and I talked about this after we worked together because I wanted his opinion on what I should be putting in here as a goal. But it says, what I want my horsemanship to look like in a year. And then the important part, actions I need to take to achieve that vision.
That's the important part.
That's the important part. And this is the first page, the first part. But then this is the more important part, that you take
It's
these and
accountable.
do it every week, every day.
Right.
So, yeah, that's hilarious. You want to read what my first action is?
Sure. Actions I need to take to achieve my vision. Write more plans down. Right?
Right?
Well, I'm just going to read them all.
Send it.
Become more structured. You wrote become structured more. I just corrected your.
I don't have structure.
Yeah. So yeah, more structure, which is, you know, that's on one hand that's kind of like a, oh yeah, become more structured. But that's a true thing. Like structure. If you set Jordan Peterson proved this. If you get up at 6 a.m. and make your bed every day, and you've at least done one thing, then your life will start improving.
Well, that's a famous speech too, the Navy SEAL speech. That was a really famous one.
And Jordan Peterson proved, what Jordan Peterson did prove is if you do this when you're talking, you're a lot smarter. But yeah, just have more structure, which is what this is all about.
Right, and as horse trainers, I think as a demographic, we're running around, we're busy, we're
Right.
not eating half the time. Like, yeah, just creating that structure.
Now this next one, this I think it's darn sure one for me. We've talked about this a lot here in the last little bit, you know, because it's summertime in Texas, so I've gotten particularly lazy about it. But being in the gym constantly, or consistently,
Either one, whatever you need.
I think that's something for every one of us. Like I was saying before, if I'm not on that rowing machine, I can't bring the best of my horses. And however that gym works, whether it's jogging, which I'm totally against, or lifting weights. If something's running, you better be running. If I'm running, you better be running too, because something's chasing me.
Yes.
But
It's not my conscience either.
But whatever that workout is, I think that's important. Worry about try 7 outcome. I don't know what that means. So I'm gonna skip
Let me
it.
see what that is. Oh, worry about try over outcome.
Well,
That's about like forgetting perfectionism.
How is 7-0 over?
It's like when like the greater than.
Oh,
I'm trying to make it fit on the line.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Worry about try over outcome. Yeah,
Which
that makes more sense.
we talked about in what you saw in me. It was like kind of worried about getting this right. Just freaking do it. And so
Yeah, just
that's
do
what that was.
something.
Yeah, do something.
Do something. That's something my dad always said. Do something even if it's wrong. Be accountable. Practicing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Practice visualization. I agree. I think I've talked about Gary LeFew's stuff, the psychosomatics on this channel multiple times, but if you haven't heard me talk about it, look up psychosomatics, and especially look up Gary LeFew's deal with psychosomatics. Visualization is key to
huge.
success.
And any successful, any genre you go in, any athlete, they all talk about their routine.
Have you read The Mind Gym?
No.
Mind Gym's a great book. I can't remember who wrote it, but that's a key to success is The Mind Gym. Take care of myself. That is a huge one. That really is. What you just said a second ago about horse trainers, we don't eat right, we drink too much, we stay up too late, blah, blah, blah. We can't be good for those horses if we're not good to ourselves. Relax and trust the process. Ooh. Casey Carson, thank you for that. Let go of perfectionism.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's something else I didn't write down here it's also like in line with the gym and all that stuff. Also, like, I didn't finish filling this out all the way yet because I wanted to leave room because I'll go home and think about and I wanted.
Ride.
Yeah, I do have a plane ride. But also like keeping my relationship with God in the forefront of my horsemanship and right in this like write more plans down, be in the gym consistently. Also like praying out loud. I hate to say this, but keeping the agreements and morals you make with yourself.
There's no reason I hate to say that. I think
That's huge too. And I notice a linear difference in my horsemanship when I am active with my relationship with my faith. And if you don't believe in God, then whatever your faith is.
If you're healthy in mind.
Yes.
If you're healthy in mind, you're healthy in body,
Connected
and you're
to self.
healthy in your work.
And I think for me in my work, being connected to God and it's reading my Bible, praying, and just checking in with myself on what I've got going on. It makes me better with my horses because I do notice, like, I'm one of those toxic productivity people.
I was just taking those two words together and going, toxic productivity.
You know what it means, though.
No, I do, yeah.
You know what it means.
I do. I'd never heard it put that way, but that's, yeah.
It's like using I'm busy as a vice. And maybe you're not drinking yourself to sleep every night, but if you're working, because I know everyone in this room has done it, like if you're working 12 hours a day and not eating and not calling your parents or like not pouring back into yourself and not talking to God, you can wake up 30 days down the road and not be dealing with like what is going on in your head.
And not have gotten anything done.
And that's pretty dangerous. And that's where I really freaking like starting colts.
Yeah.
Because when I'm finishing something, I get to work on lead changes and roping. And when I'm sitting in an arena walking circles for 3.5 hours, I have to sit there and think about what's wrong or what's right or whatever. And like that's something that horses have given to me that's huge. So I just have to talk about that too in the sense of like all of this stuff. But then also taking the time to like sit with yourself, sit with whatever you've got going on, whether it's hurt or like I just had a horse die a couple weeks ago and it was really freaking hard to like show up up for the stuff I had planned. And part of me wanted to go lay down and just, not keep going, but just kind of having that in your head of like, okay, whatever happens, these are my non-negotiables. These are the things I'm going to stick to. And so I think this is good for that because you have your to-do list and your goals. And
what's the next part here?
The next part is motivation for achieving my vision, which is the why, which is huge. And maybe that would be my why, is like, what's my motivation for achieving my vision? Like accountability. Because if we're not achieving the things that we're setting out to and we're not taking the steps to get better, then you do run the risk of waking up in 20 years and you never changed anything. And horsemanship or art or whatever it is that you do is an opportunity to work on yourself in a different medium, honestly. So,
well, the reason I wanted to point that out is this motivation for achieving my vision. You've got becoming, which I like. There's a good start.
Yeah,
becoming.
Cliffhanger.
You could almost just leave it at that.
I thought about that.
You could, but this motivation, it could be, because I want to prove this to myself or to my friends or to my family or to blah blah blah. It could be because I want to win the trophy. It could be a lot of things. You could put a dollar sign on there.
Yeah.
And this year it could be becoming the horseman that I think I want to be or something like that. 2 years down the road, 3 of these later, it could be this year it's a dollar sign.
Yeah.
Because
and there's seasons to that.
This next year it might be a whole different motivation.
And that doesn't have to be shallow.
No, it's not.
It's not shallow. It's real.
Because 2 or 3 years from now, you may be putting a down payment on a place and doing it off the horse's back. And so my motivation for achieving this, dollar sign.
Or the year you had a kid coming,
that would have been,
And I think that there's a good, shift in those seasons when you might have a time when, that's your biggest goal. And if I'm from the camp of, if it gets it done, I think you should use it. If there's something that you can kind of hack in your mind where you're like, this is important to me, provided it's not just your ego.
Sure.
Whatever is your why, I really believe it has to be separate from your ego, and then it'll get it done. But if your why is I want to be the best at this, or if it's something that's not about you becoming better, if it's just about you achieving something, I think that that's dangerous because you might achieve it and find out that everything else is still wrong. So finding a why that is meaningful, but is also going to hold some weight.
I'll piggyback on what you just. Now we're piggybacking. I'll piggyback on what you just said there about the ego, with this the motivation. If your motivation is correct, the way that the ego and the superego work is that if your motivation is correct, that's your ego's job.
Yes.
Is to make that happen. If you tell the ego what to do, it'll do it.
Yeah.
And so if your motivation is non-egotistical, but your motivation is correct in something to improve yourself, your ego goes, that's its job. It says, okay, I'll take care of it.
Copy that, boss.
I will fix it. It will get you up at 4 a.m. It will it'll shame you into getting on that weight machine or whatever. It'll cause you to do X, Y, Z, whatever all these things are. That's the ego's job. I just want to throw that out because everybody picks on the ego, but the ego is a big part of the world.
It kind of can keep you going.
Yeah.
And then
when you don't have cigarettes, at least you have the ego.
At least you have the ego. Exactly. And then having this weekly, this is the monthly planner.
That's the monthly.
This is the monthly.
For deworming, pardon me, you freaks that get mad for that.
Shows trips.
Deworming, farriers, blah, blah, blah.
And then this piece, the monthly preview, this is a really good one, I think, especially if you're managing a program or you've got kind of a lot of stuff going on. It talks about AM, PM, feed plan, the horse's body score, a main goal, a personal goal, and a reading goal. Which I love that because it separates it. It's easy to be like, oh, my goal is to be better. That's not going to get it done. So, main goal. And I think, too, there's a book called the 12... I want to say it's called the 12-month year.
Oh.
It's the 6-month year.
I don't know that.
It talks about when we set a goal a year ahead of time, the brain disassociates from it because it's so far away. And when you break it down and you make your goals closer, the ego, your brain, kicks on. And it does take care of it. It says, oh, okay, here's my next 30 days, and the older I get, the faster they come.
Total show.
At 26.
Just wait on it, sis.
Yeah, I know. But this breaks it down into a little bit of, I want to say like pertinence, but like
Compartmentalizes it.
yeah. And like I said, my years.
I learned watching Sesame Street.
Woohoo! It talks about your time spent with a professional, riding on your own, reading, and other pursuits of bettering yourself, which is fantastic because we should be monitoring things like.
And that's the part.
That's important.
That's the core of the part that I took from Ranch Resources is monitoring the hours you spend daily, weekly, and then monthly, and then the end of this is yearly.
Yeah.
Monitoring the time you spent. Don't flip the page yet. I want to talk about the body score.
Yeah, I do too. Actually,
The time you spent actually improving yourself, working towards whatever this goal is. Spending time with a professional, reading on your own, or improving yourself on your own. Actually riding your horse, and to me that's the big deal because at the end of the week you can go. Why? I watched a bunch of Pat Puckett and Brett Davis videos, and I read 4 books, but I didn't actually ride my horse. Well, no wonder he can't pick up the last book. And then you're accountable for it.
right. Or you can see it if you're not accountable, and then you can say, well, shit, all right, next month, I really didn't ride enough, or something like that.
Or all I did was ride my horse. I didn't spend any time doing any of these other things.
Exactly. Which is unfair.
Talk about the body score, because you brought that up, and you said in your barn, like, well, just go ahead with it.
Oh, okay. Body score. Well, we were talking about how everyone kind of has a preference on running their. Obviously, we all want our horses to be healthy, but there's some, like, I guess going back to the bitless thing where people think that like a huge amount of excess is good.
They feel like they're doing right by their horse by feeding them.
It's like
and
saying yes to a kid all the time.
Yeah, it's giving that kid a Twinkie because you like the kid. I like my kids. I want to give them Twinkies because it makes them happy, but it's not good for them.
Right. So for the 1 to 10 on the body score is 10 is obese, 1 is like going to slaughter, skinny. Yeah. And I think people bounce back and forth whether they want to be a 5 or a 6. I try to keep our horses between a 5 and a 6 every time my vet comes to the property. And I would be in so much trouble for this if I was an HR for humans. But I have the horse's body score right next to their name when you first walk into the barn. So anybody that's feeding, any provider that comes there.
That bastard.
Yes. That's why I can't work with people. Oh, yes, this is Susan. She's 20 pounds overweight. That's the first thing you need to know about her.
I'd like you to meet Bill. He's stupid, bald, and ugly.
Yeah, please don't feed him. He eats enough.
Oh. Fat, broken, kind of chubby.
So I keep it on the forefront of my mind because my goal is progress. Every day I want to be getting 1% better, and there is a zone of fitness level where you can maximize muscle growth, you can maximize injury prevention or minimize injuries, and that's when your horse is in shape, not fat, not too skinny, but in shape. And when you are progressing horses and they're growing, when they're aging, they're going to change just like people. So you might have a 5-year-old like a 2-year-old that in January looks great, and then he has a growth spurt, and the next month he sees ribs. I've got a running bred quarter horse, and
Might be 7 one month and 3 the next month.
Oh yeah, for 2 years straight, I fed him everything that I could feed him, and he'd look good for a day, and then he'd grow, and I'd come out to ribs, and he looked skinny for 2 years straight. He wasn't, but just being able to look at that, and then golly, I'm going to talk about another trigger for me. People that change their program all the time, and they're just changing and changing and changing and changing.
Their feed program?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
oh my God.
Yeah, and it's whatever if you need to change something because it's not working, but if you're not tracking data on what happens to those changes and you're not given enough time.
You're not.
Yeah, it's just like bodybuilding. It's like when you go to get a weightlifting coach and you sit down and they give you a meal plan, they expect you to follow that for 6 weeks before you see changes and before you see progress. And that's just like how the world works. So
with the horse, it's about 45 days
right
before you can start changing their metabolic.
But hell, I know a lot of people that I don't think they've ever gone 45 days on the same freaking supplement regime. And I think you and I agree on like not over supplementing as well, that less is more.
Yeah.
So to me, the body score thing, like I said, it's thing next to their names in my barn. Like, it's really important that I keep them in good shape and that they go home. If it's an outside horse, I want them to go home way better than they came in. And if I have 30 days, it takes 45 days to make a change. Like, I need to kind of really hijack that process and really know what works. And you find out what works by, like, putting down data behind the stuff you do. And if you just do a bunch of shit and you're not tracking, if you just do a bunch of stuff and you're not putting numbers behind it, I just think that you might blow through a solution. And you might have already done what would have worked for that horse, but now you spent $1,000 in all these fancy grains. And I keep it super simple. I've got a foundation-based plan that I put all of my horses on. It's what they need, like forage. We talked about teff, alfalfa.
Yeah.
They've got mineral, they've got salt, they've got water. I don't think that I should have to do much more than that.
Right.
If they're not correct on the body score, I'll start to implement that stuff. My goal is that they're low maintenance. I think colic and other things. I think that things, when you get into too much of the fancy, expensive, one-size-fits-all feeds, there's a ton of research, I'm not going to go into it, behind all the binders and the stuff that can cause for your horse. And I think we've gotten really lazy about going to the freaking pet store and buying ourselves a $40 bag of something that makes us feel like we're doing right by the horses.
Right.
We're not.
It's dust. It's just sawdust.
Yeah, and it's just like eating too much filler and protein from GNC and not eating your vegetables and your steak. So body score, I think, comes before the training to me. Because if my horse ain't in shape, what are we going to get done?
I want to add two things to the whole body score part.
We literally have feelings about this.
Well, I just wanted to add that in the introduction, I mentioned that if you're not real familiar, if you're going to use this program, if you're not real familiar with body score indexes and how it's supposed to work, consult your vet or your trainer or whoever. Just get a good idea of what it means. And then the other thing I wanted to add into that, the whole reason I put the body score in there is because then you can go, we're starting this in September. Mm-hmm. You can look next August, almost a year from now, and start tracking your progress and go, oh, there's a correlation. When I got this body score, it was going from 7 to 3 for several months here. And when I finally got it zeroed in because I changed my supplement or took supplement away or did whatever I did, when I finally got this zeroed in at 5, then I started hitting progress. And to me, it's just a simple way of tracking something that can be tracked scientifically. Our feelings we can't, our goals we can't necessarily track scientifically. Body score is something that we can go, this is a concrete thing. Look, when I got 3 months in a row of 5s on my body score index, then stuff started happening and I started winning. Oh, okay.
And I think too, like there's a notes section underneath the body score. Golly, a huge one with top line and just muscle and the way your horse works. That's like a whole understanding that, again, you've got to kind of figure out on your own of when you look at your horse, are they a little ewe-necked? Is their buttoning muscled up a little bit? Something that I notice in trainers that I really freaking respect, when I look at their finished stock that they've owned and ridden, a lot of them, they produce the same horse over and over again, and it looks the same.
Right.
It looks the same. And like, I think that'd be something that's easy to kind of just overlook and be like, oh, right, nice, they've got... But that really is a testament to me that they have a program, that they're producing something that you can go home and continue. There's this adage, my dad used to say that if you're going to do something more than twice, you better have a system for it, because otherwise you're just spinning your wheels.
Yeah.
So if you can figure out how to get on something consistent that works for as many horses as you have at a time without having to spend 2.5 hours mixing up like chemistry solutions for them, I think it's important to be able to look and say, all right, this 3-year-old isn't moving with his hind foot reaching the front foot enough. He needs to collect better. Well, then it's our job. We're their trainers, but we're also in charge of the muscle they're building. So here you should be the whole deal. You
were a semi-pro athlete. I overheard you saying you did bodybuilding.
Powerlifting. Yeah. We did powerlifting. I don't know how you would rank it, but yeah, I competed in powerlifting. So I spent a lot of time on it.
And so your trainer spent as much time talking to you about nutrition
More.
as they did about how much you were lifting and when you were lifting.
And you know what the
I think
kicker
it's
is?
as big, if not a biggest part of it.
Bigger. The kicker about when I was powerlifting is I spent a lot of time with trainers. The time I made the most progress, I had no trainer. I kept a journal, and it was looking at, and first of all, sticking to the program for long enough to did it work or not.
Yeah.
And I did multiple programs where I followed through and saw how it worked. But then, and that got me far, but the times that I had insane jumps of progress is when I could sit down and understand, all right, my body operates best on this type of food at this time, with this type of training, this many days in between of rest. And I know that better than anybody.
Yeah.
I could pay freaking Arnold Schwarzenegger to train me, and he's not going to be able to do as good a job as I can. Sure. Now, that's true for your horses in your own program.
Sure.
You could talk to 1,000 outside trainers, and I think something dangerous about horsemanship is you can find anything to validate your viewpoint. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important that we go out and also find and research and listen to things that oppose our viewpoint.
Yeah.
We need to be like stressing what we think and making sure it holds up. And in that, I think that with horses, you need to know what the hell is going on in your barn and what's being fed.
Yeah.
And it's easy to make it something that is just done whether somebody else feeds. You don't have to do it. Your barn has help, whatever it is. But like, know how your horse feels. A lot of people say that dirty, alfalfa makes horses hot. Because everyone says it. That's not true. Like, I don't know. It's just...
It's a high protein. I've said this a million times. High protein diet doesn't make your horse hot. It makes your horse what it is.
Right.
When I'm running on all 8 cylinders, that's who I am.
So record it and know what that is.
Yeah.
And know what 0 is and know what 100 is. So I like the body score for that and for collecting data. It might not mean anything day to day, but like you said, 6 months down the road.
Month, year to year means a lot.
Especially if you did something right and you want to be like, okay, this worked really well. Let's turn around and duplicate it.
How the hell did I do that?
Yeah, if you're not recording what you're doing well, you just effectively wasted all that time. And
Sure.
You're going to have to go throw spaghetti at a wall again when the next thing rolls into your barn. And that's time you could be spending perfecting something.
Your lead changes.
Yeah, exactly. Your lead changes. So I'm really excited about this to go home and work on it because it's also something that's like a bit of a habit starter.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee if you sit down and look at this and you spend your time writing, you're not just going to spend 5 minutes. You're going to...
Hopefully not.
No, hopefully not. You're going to be like, oh yeah, and then my reading goal, and then you're going to go spend 5 more minutes. And then the end of it, there's a review at the end of the month, which is really good for like getting better. Again, it says...
It's work.
Yeah, did it work? Like I said, is this sticking or not? Accomplishments of the month. What did I learn? What could I have done better or differently? What challenges did I face? This is the most important thing for me, but what am I grateful for?
Yeah.
And then you tally up all your time, which is sweet. And it's what, like, you might sit down at the end of it and feel like you really failed. And what a good thing.
Yeah.
Because then you can try harder. And that can be your freaking, what's my why? I didn't do what I said.
And just to look on the sunnier side of things.
Oh, was that not sunny?
No, it wasn't that it wasn't sunny. But just to look on the sunnier side of things, you also might sit down at the end of that and feel like you really haven't got a bunch of that. Because there's times, especially with young horses, where you'll go for weeks and really not feel like you really got.
And if you're working alone.
Yeah.
If you're by yourself, which I know a lot of us are.
And this, you can validate yourself at some point. You can look at the end of the month and go, wow, I really did get a bunch done. The program, I can trust in the program because the program's working, and here's the data.
So, let me ask you, what are your goals for the next year as a horse trainer? Like, what kind of keeps you moving along?
We said cold questions only, and that is as cold as it can be. What are my goals?
Well, or kind of what motivated you to get started on this? Because I know you're very intellectual person. You think very deeply about stuff, so clearly goals kind of on mind.
So yeah, you kind of made that into a 2-part question, so I'll start with the easier part of it. The motivation behind this, I've been looking for a long time because, over the past, decade or so, I've had people coming to stay with me, people showing up, wanting to spend a week and try to learn a few things, and I've turned into that guy. But then also, like, today I fielded 3 or 4 calls from younger trainers that I know that, one was a question just about, relationships with the opposite sex, but there's other times that same guy or other people call me and they're wondering about horses and this and that. And so for a long time, for like I said, for about a decade now, I've been trying to come up with something that was like, here. It's right here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have all the answers. And that's,
You do.
Yeah, you have the answers.
You have the answers.
I don't have the answers, but here's what I can do. I can put it to where you can write them down and you can find your answers. I can't tell you, because I really can't, and that's like, I can already tell you about, I can read your future a little bit. You're going to be in the same boat I am at some point, and it's not going to be very long, where people are going to go, what do I do next? How do I do this? And people are going to be coming and sleeping on your couch and try to pick your brain for stuff. And it's depressing and it's disheartening in a lot of ways. The times when I go, I wish I had the answer. Like, I know what I did to get here. I know what I would do if I was you, but I can't give you the answer because I don't know what the answer is for you.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was trying to do with this, is just like, here's the best way I can think of. And like I said, it's a stolen idea. Can't say that enough times. I'm not the genius. I'm not the genius that came up with this. But to me, this was the thing. That was the motivation behind that. Is that here's a way that you can give yourself some support and have some data. And I'm a real analytical type thinker.
That's the word I was looking for earlier. Analytical.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm real analytical about myself especially, but about my program and about what I'm doing. I'm constantly thinking of things, trying to figure out where I can put a gate to make things work easier. Where can I hang the halters where I have to take 3 less steps to catch horses? That's where I'm always at. And so to me, this was a way to where people can just write it down and find it for themselves. I can't give you the answer, but I can give you the bricks where you can find the answer. So that was the...
It's like a fun choose your own adventure.
Yeah, it is.
Here you go. Have fun.
So that's the motivation behind that. And then, like I said, again, I'm going to have to choose my words a little carefully here, because there's so many people in the equine industry that I have tons of respect for, but have, in some ways, I feel like kind of sold out in terms of selling stuff. What's the word I'm looking for there?
Monetization?
Okay, either of those. But selling sticks and whips and shit like that. I don't. It was when I wrote the Started Colt. It was something that I really had a lot of gut check moments about, where like I don't want to do a thing that's not true. I only want to do true things. And so to me, this was a true thing where I really honestly feel like it'll help people. I wouldn't have done it at all if I didn't think people could take this and go, oh, this will really help me.
Yeah.
So that was my motivation behind all that. So there's all the touchy-feely part. My personal goals for, let's say, the year in advance, I'm at a program here. It's still a young fledgling program where we're trying to raise some really nice horses. We're trying to find a goal. We're trying to find a spot where we're pointing these horses, where from birth to sale, we have a place that we're sending them. And of course, they're not all going to fit. That never works out that way. So then we also have to have a some place to go for the things that don't fit. Whether that's to some feedlot cowboys or this or that, or this horse will make a great team roping horse, but he's just not going to fit our deal. Or this horse will make a great cow horse, but we're working on team roping horses. So whatever the deal is, that's my goal right now, and that seems kind of broad. I'm not going to get real detailed into this program necessarily, but that's my goal right now, is trying to help this program find where it's going and get in a groove. it takes 5 to 10 years to really accomplish that. Amy's holding up 3. It takes 3 years to even figure out how you're doing it, how you're going to do it, where you're going.
Yeah.
It takes a year,
Yeah.
and this is just the voice of experience. We've done this so much. It takes a year to even figure out where everything is. It takes a year to figure out where all the gates are and who's got the key to the barn and how there's a broken water pipe. Where the hell did that water pipe come from?
Yeah.
That takes a year. We've been here a year. We've got that part down. It takes 3 years to really get everything pointed the right direction. It takes 5 to 10 years to maximize things and to accomplish the goals you set forth in a horse program. And so I'll use A-Bar. We started with A-Bar in 2006, and they won was it 7? Yeah, because we got married in 06. And they won the Best Bermuda in 2020, 2021. I don't remember. Somewhere in there. And there was quite a few years that they were going before we got there, and then there was 7 or 8 years after we left that program. But we had a good 7, 8 years in that program. And that's really where I'm coming up with the numbers of it. It takes a year to figure out where all the gates are. It takes 3 years to figure out what your goal is, and then it takes 5 to 10 years to get it to work. And so those are the things I'm going off. So that's my goal with this. Ultimately, when I first talked to the man I work for about this job, I asked him what his goals were for this, and he was kind of didn't really have some real set goals.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm just going to set some for myself. I'll tell you about them later. So one of my goals for this program is to win the Best Bermuda Award.
Heck yeah.
We're 10 years out to even get considered. So
That's good to hear, though, as far as like in this world, everybody thinks you can be a master of something in a year. And it is good to hear and important to hear people like you guys that are established in your respective fields be like, sit down and be prepared to put 10 years in.
So when you ask what's my goal for the year, like, oh shoot, just to get through it, get all these babies where they're supposed to be and get everything broke. Like my years, I put them in my pocket, let them take care of themselves. I'm looking at 10 years. My 10-year goal is to have somebody consider this program for the Bermuda Award. I'm really honestly more on a 15 to 20 year goal to have this outfit win it.
Yeah.
Now, whether I'll even actually be part of this program or not in that amount of time doesn't matter. And that's kind of like riding everything like you're going to finish it in the spade bit.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you actually do. That's what your goal's got to be, the pinnacle. And so that's where I'm at. And I think, weekly, I think a week ahead of time with what we're doing with the colts. Mm-hmm. And then I'm also thinking months and years ahead of time with these colts that we were halter breaking this week. I'm thinking about them 2 years in advance.
Yeah.
And then for the program altogether, I'm thinking at least in a 10-year deal. But with that said, having a weekly, monthly, yearly goal
in order to keep that 10-year trajectory in track.
Keep that trajectory going. And so like for my own personal goals, I'd have to write a whole different one of these, a different planner, and I maybe should. That's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah, you write your own.
But that's where those are my goals.
And are you still doing a lot of clinics at this time or not as much?
So I've never done a lot of clinics.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm probably, at least in the next 20 years, not going to do a lot of clinics. Mm-hmm. And I say that like there's always in the back of my mind, my plan for retirement is going and taking over Bolivia. And if that doesn't work out for me, I'm thinking about taking up a missionary position because I've always loved the missionary positions that I've been in. Pause that for a little dramatic effect. But if those two things don't work out,
in the event
that I become an old man someday, I can see myself doing clinics a lot more.
Yeah.
But for now, clinics aren't my thing. I don't love doing clinics. I like doing clinics. I don't love doing clinics. It's not how I want to make my living right now.
Yeah.
A big part of that is because I've got relatively young children. I want to be home. I want to be with my children. I grew up in a household where my dad worked his ass off for us, but he was gone a lot doing it. And so I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see them grow up. I want to go to the race. I want to see what they do. And clinics, you just can't do that. You can't be a full-time clinician and do that.
Like we talked about, you picked it, and so you're here working on that.
I picked that. So anyway, I've never done lots of clinics. I do some clinics. We try to keep them at about 6 a year.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I feel like I can bring my best self to a clinic at 6 a year. That's about all I can do, and then still handle all the rest of my stuff. And 6 is kind of pushing it. And we've talked about this part of our mission statement for the clinics that I do. There's a joke in there somewhere. The clinics that I do, I'd like to keep it fairly niche and kind of a cult following. I don't want to be Buck Brandman. I don't want to be Clinton Anderson. I know those guys. Nothing against those guys. But that's not what I want to do with my life.
Right, they've helped a lot of people.
Oh, for sure.
But
and they've helped me.
Yeah, you changed.
They've helped me actively and the opposite of actively, whatever that is. In the sense that I mean, like I've sat down passively, yeah. I've sat down and talked to those guys and had relationships with them, and they've actually helped me with things. And then I've watched them, heard their things, read their things, so that passively they've helped me too. Those guys are great. It's just not what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'd like it to be a little bit more of a cult following. I want it to be smaller, more intimate type of deals. And my major goal with clinics, I want people to come to tops 5 clinics. And in 5 clinics, I want to graduate them to where they're past what I can teach them.
Yeah.
I want them to outgrow me in 5 clinics. That's a bad business model. That's a really bad business model. And so that's why I want to keep it small, and that's why I want to keep it niche, and that's why I want to keep it kind of cultish.
Yeah.
Because that's not a good way to make money. At the expense, or at the not the expense, but at the distress, whatever. You guys read my mind. A lot of other clinics, the business model is keep them coming back.
Absolutely, yeah.
Show them just enough, give them just enough. I grew up in Southern Oregon, so I understand how drug dealers make money. It's the drug dealer mentality.
Or psychiatrists.
Or psychiatrists. Give them just enough. Yeah, but they're not in Southern Oregon. There's drug dealers there.
No, they're in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, that's Northern Oregon. give them just enough that they'll come back and want more. Give them just enough that they'll come back and want more. I don't want to do that. I want to graduate people. I want them to not need me anymore. That's how I want my clinics to go. So doing that, I can't. There's no possible way I can do more than 6 a year.
I love that though. I think
if I was on the road 45 weeks a year, trying to graduate everybody out of my deal, I'd run out of. I'd have a 2-year run. I'd run out of clients, and I'd run out of health, and I'd run out of brains, and I'd melt down. I couldn't do it. So my clinic deal, the clinics are for me. There was a time when I absolutely hated doing clinics. They just weren't any fun to me. They've gotten to the point now where I get so much better teaching that the clinics are really for me. I hope everybody that comes to them gets something out of them. I try my best to get them to get something out of them, but they're really for me. When I show somebody else how to do something, I learn.
Yeah.
And I teach them, and to me, I'll run this risk. The pain in the ass clients, or the pain in the ass people that come to the clinics that other clinicians call me and they're like, oh, you've got so and so. She has been to 7 of my clinics, and those are the ones I love them. I want them. I go, really?
Let's get it done in
You
one.
can't teach them anything. Let's see what I can do. Because I can learn so much more from those people. There was a clinic a year and a half or 2 years ago. There was a gal there that she'd been through the grinder of the clinics and the this and that and trainers, and she was addicted to going to clinics, but was coming with her guard up and was already going to fight you, wasn't going to learn. 3 or 4 professional full-time clinicians called me and they're like, man, she's tough. You don't want any part of that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's cool. And I had so much fun. I learned more from her than she learned from me. In the end, she learned some stuff and progressed, advanced, made herself better. Some of the other professionals she worked with called me months later and went, the hell did you do?
That's so cool.
And to me, that was awesome. That was like the best trophy I could have.
What is the trophy? That's like the why.
When other professionals called me and said, wow, you got her on track. But I got more from her than she got from me because I was able to study this case and go, what are you fighting? You know, it's like that horse you get in that's been through 4 trainers and falls down on people or whatever, and you go, what have they not been doing for you?
Like the Seabiscuit scene.
Right,
what are you so mad at?
What are you so mad at?
What are you so mad at?
What do we got to do here? What do I have to become? This is back to Paul. What do I have to become to help you? Because I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll become anything I need to become
to help you.
And there's times when that feels dishonest, but it's in an honest way of what can I do. So
I think that's the
those
job.
are my clinic goals.
For not even just clinic, but for horses. And like to circle back to where we started, because it's getting dark out here. Sorry guys, you can't hang out for the whole rest of the night. But like
are you
that's
afraid of the dark?
Kind of the job. No. I mean, but like that's the job with the horses too, is getting them in and figuring out like how can we get you the win.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what keeps me going. Like when we first talked on the phone and you kind of asked about what I was doing, and I had just finished teaching, gosh, I think I did like 6 lessons that day or something. And you were like, whoa, that's a day. And I kind of was talking about how like, for me, those days I love my students, but it's the hardest day of my week by far. So for me, that's the bigger ask is like, okay, great, I can help my own horses, do my own stuff, like in my own arena, but like to take it outside of myself. And that's why I still take outside horses. I take on 1 a month, just 1.
For you.
Okay, I've got my own.
That's college. That's your doctorate degree there.
And it's honestly my favorite thing because it's more of a puzzle. And it's something where honestly, my outside horse that I have gets a little bit more of me and my attention for that pure fact, the same reason that lady got a little more of your attention.
Yeah.
Because it's something where you're coming in and trying to figure something out and get that person, another person that's not yourself, which is hard. Like, how do I help them get a win and set myself up where they can get something from me? And like, whether it's a student coming to learn how to ride or a horse, like that's kind of what keeps me going. As much as I would love to just do circles in my own round pen, and I've done that, the reason I can't do only that is because I think I need the external stuff coming in and pushing me, being like, hey, you didn't start this, but can you finish it?
So let me just bounce this idea off you, and this is just purely just a thought puzzle.
Yeah, I love this.
So we'll go back to that same lady I was talking about. One of the reasons that nobody else was able to get anything done with her, they gave lessons 3 to 5 days a week. They did clinics 2 weekends a month.
Yeah.
Some of them 4 weekends a month.
Yeah.
So they were doing that kind of stuff constantly. And so when she would show up, they saw it as, here's a thorn in my side.
Right.
This is something that's going to detract from all these other people. This is something I have to put up with.
Wait, pause, beer break. I have a horse that will not drink PBR.
What?
Only
That's
Coors
an
Banquet.
American son of a bitch.
Coors Banquet.
Okay, so he's a Colorado horse.
Yeah. But we were coming out of a trail ride and they'd been working hard all day, and I stopped at a bar and I was like, well, only right to share the spoils with my comrades. So, you know, I run into friends, I'm like, I'm gonna be here a fucking while, I'm gonna give my horses some. So I had a bag of Tef pellets out in the truck. And I was like, well, you know, I'll give him some water because the horses hadn't drank in a while. And I had just two 6-packs in the back of my truck because we've been riding with the Cowboys all day. And I don't drink a lot of beer. So I was like, well. So I filled one of the buckets with PBR and then one of the buckets with Coors. And I put them both in the trailer. And this horse had not eaten all day. And he wouldn't touch the one with PBRs. He was like, no. He was like, I'm above that. It's like, dude.
Me and Kid Rock have a problem with that.
I know. I think a lot of people would have a problem with that.
Yeah, I'm PBR.
That's why I didn't say the horse's name in this story. He's
yeah, because the mafia might be.
he's innocent. Yeah.
Really?
Amy doesn't edit the video, so.
my friend, I won't share his last name because he might still have some amount of goodliness in him. But my friend Jake and I, at the time, he was married in the Mormon church. He and I were day working outside of Vail one time, and we helped this guy. We gathered a bunch of cows and blah blah blah, and we got to the gate where we were going, and the boss was there with the pickup trailer, and there was a cooler in the back of the truck, and we'd been all day in this Eastern Oregon fucking desert, and
Yeah.
and alkali dust and this and that, and so I saw that cooler and I was like, woohoo, cooler,
Hooey.
and I opened it up and there's like 6 or 7 hot. There's no ice in there. They'd been in there for weeks.
Oh.
6 or 7 hot ham spears in there.
Oh.
And like ham spear sucks anyway, and especially it's hot. It's 90 degrees out. But I just wanted wet.
Yeah.
We didn't have water. We didn't have anything. So I just grabbed one and just crushed it. And so Jake, who was playing Mormon at the time, was like, oh, well, I don't know.
Oh, gosh.
I was like, Jake, dude, I guarantee you're as thirsty as I am. It's wet.
You're like, your body's going to burn it up in the heat.
Yeah. And so he cracked one open and drank it, and he's like, because he didn't drink much beer anyway. So
Not thirsty enough.
we were staying with him at the time in the Mormon household. We were living in Mormania. And he gets all sad about this, that he broke the Mormon code of ethics or whatever. And he tells his wife, who's, hey, I'd known both since we were all in high school. So she's hated me forever. Because if you're a Mormon and your friend is my friend, you obviously don't like me.
You're the guy trying to get his fishing buddies back throwing scrunchies in the
Right,
truck.
yeah. Actually, no, I was always good. I was always good to her. To her. Okay, I was mean to her sometimes. I never tried to sleep with her, ever. But he tells her, she throws a wall-eyed fit that he'd had a beer.
Is that why they're divorced now?
No. I won't.
No.
This might be after hours.
This was a joke.
This might be after hours. I won't be
joke.
why they're divorced.
No.
Anyway, she gets all mad about this, and so he's all upset because, of course, he's in trouble.
Yeah.
And so he comes to me, and I said, man, what can I do? And he's like, would you just try to embrace the faith? And I was like, fucking whatever. So I read the Book of Mormon to try to help the situation, to help him, buddy.
That's a good friend right there. That's a good friend.
I got 99 problems, but a bitch ain't one. Turns out it was for him. I read the Book of Mormon. It is like reading Marvel comic books. My Mormon friends, Will, I'm sorry, dude. You know how I feel about it. Yeah. So that's not why they're divorced, but
No.
they are divorced.
But that does make you a good friend for.
So we lived at his house until right about the Ham's beer thing is kind of what got us ixnayed from the house. We had the living quarters trailer in the yard.
Oh my gosh.
But he and I had a feedlot rented, and we had like 40 head of horses or something. And they weren't colts because it was everything from 2-year-olds to 6-year-olds.
Okay, mixed bag. It's a mixed.
Yeah. And we had this deal rented, and we're riding these horses, and there's a bunch of stories in there. So we got banished to the feedlot. We had the living quarters trailer hooked up there. And where were you going with that? The George Noy, or what was the other part?
Still not.
Oh, yeah. So Vail, Oregon. You've been to Vail?
In Colorado.
No, so Vail, Oregon. It's like a little oasis in the Oregon desert.
Oh,
There's a lot of water there, and they grow alfalfa and they grow a shitload of onions. And so, being a bunch of bad kids, we had to do something at night.
yeah.
And so we'd go around and steal onions.
Oh,
But like, who needs more than 2 onions?
yeah. Calendar year.
We'd still fucking pick up loads of them.
Oh my god.
Just because we could. We'd just drive around at night and steal fucking onions. Me and the boss and this Mormon. And he was like, oh man, we're going to get in trouble. We're like, shut up, Jake. Have another margarita. We're just stealing onions. And then when we'd have them, we're like, the next day, we'd be like, what the fuck are we going to do with 400 pounds of onions? I don't know what we did with them, but we had them. So now we get into the colt starting part of this. We had all these friggin' horses, and
Oh no.
some of them were 2-year-olds, but they weren't legit 2-year-olds. Because
They were Timu 2-year-olds.
well,
Knockoff 2-year-olds.
I mean, they were 2, but they were just fresh off the desert.
You mean like they weren't like broke?
Yeah, like their mothers had never been handled. Their grandmothers, their great grandmothers, like they were all registered, but they were basically Mustangs.
Yeah.
So we had 2-year-olds up to 6-year-olds, and we had a fallen ass down round pen. And it's kind of a half-ass arena, and then we had the desert, and that's all we had.
Gosh.
So he contracted to start all these colts, and we're going to help him. And so, I don't know, first couple of days after we got banished to the feedlot, the genius here goes to the liquor store and gets several gallons of pre-mixed 1-gallon margaritas,
Oh my gosh.
ready mixed, and she throws them in the water tank next to the round pen.
Yeah.
And there was one in the trailer there. So Jake comes over first thing in the morning. We had breakfast at 6. He made breakfast in his Dutch oven. He's a hell of a Dutch oven cook.
Oh.
We had our breakfast and everything, and then snorted on a couple of margaritas. And then get down there, and she's got her snubbing horse, and we're trying to ride these colts. And then, she'd go over to the water tank and pass the margaritas around. And that's where he got to where he'd go, "Boo! Get gentle, you dragons!" We just lived on margaritas and rode freaking broncs and stealing onions and living on margaritas.
That song's like living on toasted time.
Yeah, this is living on veil time.
Time isn't real in Oregon. One of the worst.
Time is not real in Oregon. That's true.
It doesn't really matter.
Oh yeah. Did you get philosophical on us?
Sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Plato. Stay the fuck out of this.
Actually, the book's all the way over there on the. I saw it earlier.
Utopia? Yeah, it's over there.
It's over there. The Great Works.
All right, next question in your book.
Next question in my book.
Not that book.
Oh, this one there's many.
There's no questions in that. It's all answers.
It's a good statement.
We here at the Brett Davis Institute of Horse Riding and Anger Management. This is where all the answers are.
Save yourself to watch. This is everything. Everything you need to know.
All right.
Fucking. Oh, this is a good one to ask him right now, actually. It's the one that we saved all fucking weekend. But what's your common thread between artists and horsemen?
Purple.
The answer is.
The answer is purple. Now, the common thread between horsemen and artists. Well, so I can get into this as much as anybody wants to get into it. So the real common thread is there's, and let me go ahead and preface this with I'm an artist's son, I'm a musician's son, etc., etc. So I kind of got a handle on artists. So first of all, they're crazy. There's some craziness there, and I mean that kind of in the best way, because
In an endearing way.
like you take really, really super intelligent people, and they go out of their way to make a living in a way that it's almost impossible to make a living as an artist.
Yeah.
and there's exceptions to the rule, of course.
Right.
Hemingway obviously was very wealthy. Stop laughing, Swan.
I was thinking paid off by the
Which one?
government.
Paid off by the government.
Paid
Because
off by the government.
he hunted Nazis. The Spanish guy that I like so much. Well, yeah, Goya, not so much, but the other one. Anyway, so one can become wealthy with it, but mostly you're taking something that it's really hard to make a living doing, and trying to do that because you love the art.
Yeah.
And so with horsemanship, there again we can name some. Sean Florida is the first one that comes to mind. He's a millionaire. Clinton Anderson. We can have all kinds of arguments about horsemanship in that case, but in my opinion, Clinton Anderson's a horseman. So is Pat Pirelli.
Yeah.
Those guys have made themselves very wealthy, but they're the exception to the rule. So most of the time we're taking something, the common thread is we're taking something and we're doing something that we love versus something that is profitable. And so that's the real common thread. The other thing that could be said about the common thread between the two would be that you're doing something for the sake of beauty, for the sake of expression, I think is more so than beauty.
Yeah.
You're doing something for the sake of expression. Horsemanship, at one point in the history of mankind, from like 8,000 BC till about 1940,
Yeah.
was something that needed to be done, that had to be done. We had to have horses to make the world go around. So from 1940-ish to now, it's more so we don't need horses.
Yeah.
In almost every sense, like the beef industry still wouldn't operate in America today without horses.
Right.
However, it would take a very little bit of tweaking to make it work.
Well, in some outfits already,
Yeah, and it's headed that way.
Yeah.
So, but for the most part, we have horses for our entertainment. We have horses for our egos. We have horses for a variety of things. So, a horseman is, or horsewoman, I'm using it as a generic term, is using that as an expression.
Yeah.
I think an artist, whether that artist is a musical artist, whether it's a guitar player, piano player, accordion player, painter, dancer, whatever the art form is, glass blower, and then we can go into some German stuff, ass blower. Whatever the art form is, I think artists use their art form as a form of expression. And I think that's the common thread with horsemanship and art.
I'm trying to find this quote in here that I wrote down, but I can just summarize it. But it was by a musical artist, and she said something super interesting. But it was that the nature of art is something that when you're the creator and when you're going through it, it's usually not enjoyable. And the day-to-day, the process of doing the creation of the art is not glamorous.
Okay.
And
I was not glamorous, more so than not enjoyable.
or not enjoyable. Like, I
There's
think
times where it can be not enjoyable.
right, or if you take samples of like some really significant like art or music that becomes these massive hits, a lot of the times you go back to the artist was going through something at the time, like and oftentimes like a sort of pain, and they went through that during the time of the creation, and then
or even if you take dance, like if you take ballet and you're a ballerina that's practicing a dance from something that was maybe written 200-300 years ago.
yeah,
She I'm just usually ballet is she, although Baryshnikov is one of my favorite dancers. She is not enjoying all that physical effort she's having to put into to express that art.
right, or like the act of like for a ballerina, like the feet breaking, and there's
hurts,
like there's a lot of gnarliness in the creative process, and this artist was saying, but then when you're done and you look back, you get to stand back and say, I created that, and that it's beautiful when it's done, but the art is not necessarily something that's meant to be enjoyed the entire way through.
So I'm going to throw horsemanship out of this and just take art and humanity instead. And so, in my opinion, all humanity, the thing that defines humans versus all other mammals, the one thing that we can really put our hands on, because at one point in time they said it was communication, and then we taught apes how to do sign language, and so on and so forth, and we found that the animals can think.
Dolphins.
Yeah, dolphins.
Yeah, they have complex systems.
Right. You see where I was going with that. But we create. We want to create.
Yes.
And so creation, humankind, I'm going to use mankind. Mankind wants to create because we want to be like our Creator. We are made in the image of God, and consequently, just like a child is made in the image of its mother and father, they want to emulate their parents. We want to emulate God. And so God is a creator. We try to create. To me, that's where art really comes from. And that's all jokes aside. We've had some drinks where
you want me to take that one farther, though?
Sure.
In my mind, okay, and this is how I look at horsemanship, to tie it back in, and this is how I look at art as well, and music, like, just that a human in the state of creation, I think, is worship.
Yeah.
I think that's how we can honor God and worship God, is by...
Because we're trying to emulate.
Yeah.
And emulation is the highest form of flattery.
Oh, that's true. Ain't that the truth?
And so we're trying to be like God when we try to create things.
And we're enjoying.
Yeah.
We're enjoying and making beauty out of what was given to us.
And to whoever your artist was that said the actual process is not necessarily enjoyable.
Yeah, at times.
It isn't. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's arduous, sometimes it's this, sometimes it's
ugly.
That. Ugly. One could say that for the Creator. God also maybe didn't necessarily enjoy creating. It was, however hard the ultimate of all things.
Well, the Old Testament.
However hard that was. I mean, he had to take a nap after 7 days. It was relatively hard. And so, art doesn't need to be fun.
Yeah.
But it is how we express ourselves and how we try to be like our Creator.
Mm-hmm. And understand more about ourselves along the way.
For sure.
I think that's why humans are so drawn. It's just very interesting to me that, like, there's something about art that so undeniably speaks to all of us, but very differently. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting to me that the type of people who are called to do something, or even like the kids learning music, like that part of our brain. And Jordan Peterson actually has a very interesting quote, and I can't listen to a lot of his stuff because he talks long form. But he had a very interesting statement that a human is at its most efficient operating mode when it's learning something new or creating something. Mm-hmm. So that's why we feel better when we have like a goal or something coming in, like that we have to work towards, because it's not the goal itself that makes us
it doesn't
happy.
matter. The goal doesn't matter.
It's being in that process. But yeah, seriously, it's that space between like the creative process, if you will, or whatever, but that when we're trying and striving for that next thing, that's when we're optimizing ourselves.
Sure.
And we operate at our best, which that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, that does. I thought of something while we were on break that now that we're being serious again, I'm going to bring up. So you asked me what my long-term goal was.
I did, yes.
So what's yours?
Oh.
And you talked about it a little bit while we were off camera about having a camp trailer and
oh yeah, and my dog.
Which is to me is a totally legitimate goal.
Yeah, I think in a weird way, I think I'm trying to not sound as cheesy as this is gonna sound, but like wherever God wants to put me, I'm happy to like just have my head down and try to be in alignment with like what I should be doing. Mm-hmm. So if that's that I'm going to be in Montana for the next 10 years doing what I'm doing now, I love that. But if I got a call and could come, kind of like how you guys have traveled for different work opportunities, like I just think that if you move in alignment with like who you are and you're operating out of a place of authenticity with what you're doing, that you should continue in that trajectory of like there's a Rumi quote. I think it's when you begin to walk on the way, the path will disappear, and that's how you know you're like going. But just being malleable enough and like present and listening to what God wants me to do, and keep building horses and maximize my potential and the horse's potential. And, you know, wherever that leads me, I think if I can just keep my ears to the wind on, like, what's right for me and, you know, then I'm kind of wherever there's work, you know? But in a way. And I'd like to say I have specific goals in, you know, like if you went through my journal, like, yeah, I've got a list of, like, this is my goal, da-da-da-da. But also, like, we talked about, that horse I had was a huge part of my plan. Like, that was a third of the one that died. Yeah, that was a third of what I was supposed to be doing for the next 2 years. And, like, that's gone. And in one morning, right, I get that phone call. And it was, and I think also, like, not to be more, but our lives can be like that too. Like, we don't know how long we have. And so there's, in Matthew, I might be wrong, but where Jesus says, like, be careful about how much stake you put in tomorrow, and, like, don't brag about tomorrow because you don't know what you're given. And so this year, just kind of, especially like dealing with that loss, I think I'm working towards, my ultimate goal would be that spade bit horse, you know, and that ride where I get on and I don't have to touch them and I get the lead changes and we ride off, and like that's the goal. But even if I don't get there, I'm gonna fucking enjoy the journey. Yeah. You know?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head with that, because that was going to be my follow-up question, was something along the lines of, you know, how do you necessarily know it? And I don't have the answer to this, because I'm the most lost soul, the ashes in the wind prototype. And so how do you know when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, or when you're following God's call, or so on and so forth? And I think you hit the nail on the head, that, like, where you said, I don't know if that's what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm going to be having fun while I'm trying. Mm-hmm. And I really think that's the key. And like my history, our history of just boom, here, there, and like making lots of bad decisions, but having fun the whole way. I think that's the key to it, is just like, and there's been some gut check moments where I was like, God, what am I doing? You know,
yeah, we talked about that in Oklahoma.
Help me out here, yeah.
You're like, make it simple for me. It's stupid.
I'm dumb. I'm dumb. Please help me out. But I think just enjoying the process, and we could tie that background into horses if we wanted to. There's been some people that I've seen other people ask, like, well, you know, when we're in this part of the 2-rein process, we're in this part of the Hackmore process, or this, that, you know, how do we know, blah, 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 blah. And I've seen people's responses that say, just enjoy the process. It's just a process, enjoy it. And I think life's that way too. It's just like, I don't know what God wants me to do, and I'm pretty sure I'm probably fucking it up most of the time, but I'm gonna try to have fun.
I think too, the biggest is the people, right? Like, I think that, like, this weekend you guys didn't know me from Adam coming down and kind of, you know, like opening up your home to me, and I was, you know, with the kids, and we're going to church together. Like, I could have been a stick in the mud. Or, you know, so, but I think that for me, the affirmation of, like, yeah, like, keep doing what you're doing. It's when you show up in the people that you're around and are like your people, you know, and they have shared values. And everywhere I go, again, I feel so lucky to have this now, but 5 years ago I did not. And
what clarify that. What do you mean if 5 years ago you didn't?
Well, 5 years ago, you were asking kind of how do you know when you're doing the right thing by, and 5 years ago, if I sampled, like, the people around me and what I was doing with my day, and I was still me, right? But I was kind of forcing what I thought I should be doing, and forcing maybe relationships, or maybe it's not even forcing, but I think a lot of us are kind of dulled down to, like, well, this is what I should be doing, and this is what I'm supposed to do, so I'm just gonna
get married, have babies.
You're fucking getting old. You look so old. Yeah, like, we can get caught up in, like, well, or this is what I have done. so I'm just gonna keep doing it. Or like not checking in with yourself enough, and kind of maybe you're living partially out of alignment with who you really are because you're from wherever place, and this is how everybody has been always. But yeah, I think that like the biggest thing for me is if I can look around at the people that I'm spending my time with, and all of them have the same values and care about the same shit, and are good humans that are like raising good humans. And I think there's a pretty easy gut check on like that's where you should be. And as long as I have that, again, not to sound cheesy, but I really like I wouldn't trade $1 million for a day in someone else's life to not have the people around that came through horsemanship, and kind of the person I became through horsemanship in a very but it's true.
I can't argue with you because similar to you, it sounds like I've never done anything else, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if there ever was something that I could have done, should have done, that would have led me to as happy a place as I'm in, or a happier place, or a better situation.
There's no way though, because like look around.
Right. And like you just can't. Like you can't even. Nobody can do those mathematics.
Yeah, it's the butterfly effect.
But I do think some people try to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I know people that are my age or older that have had 3, 4, 5 different careers and done different things, and it always kind of sounds kind of cool to me. But then I also think like I've spent my whole life trying to be good at one thing, and maybe these other people are just smarter than me, so it was easier for them to get better at a thing. But I've spent my whole life trying to get good at one thing, and I think, well, if you did all these other things, how did you ever figure out if you liked it?
Yeah. If you know, well, that's kind of why people ask me when I get into horsemanship, because you guys know it, with all the kind of Western attention that we're getting, there's a lot of people that really romanticize this stuff, and oh, how did you get into this? And I always joke with people when I'm kind of serious, I'm like, well, I tried everything not to. Like, if you ask people when I was 12, what's she going to do? They would all be like, oh, she's going to be a horse trainer for sure. Like, you know, I was that weird horse kid, and for sure. Like, everyone would be like, that's what it is. And then through the process of kind of, you know, you grow up and money becomes a thing, and it just kind of became like, okay, wow, like, this isn't a fiscally responsible career. And so I did. Like, I kind of reasoned with myself when I was like 17. I'd been working at show barns and working under trainers, and then I was just seeing people come in with the money they had, and I just had this come to Jesus. There was a horse that I'd worked on all summer, and he came to us, one of those imports that we talked about earlier. He came imported, really nice show jumper, but he was nasty. He reared and kicked, but he could jump like nothing else, nothing you'd ever seen. And I'd been working for like 10 years, kind of waiting for a horse like that, and always riding the shit horses, and I'm so grateful for that. But I never had the horse that I could like compete on or go do my thing on. And then finally, like, this was going to be the one. And then when I think I was 17, and right before we were supposed to go to our first show, the owners called and wanted him back in California. And when they gave us the lease price of what it would have cost to keep him, I called my dad, and he was like, we can, if this is what you want. That's more than what we're paying like in rent right now. And they were already paying a lot to keep me in the school I was in and the town I wanted to be. Like, they sacrificed a shit ton and worked really hard, and they did leave it up to me. They were like, we can. But I had this moment of like, it's never gonna be me. Like, I can't make that work. And I went away, and it kind of killed my love for it. It was like the final heartbreak.
Sure.
Because that happened to me a lot with other horses, and you know, you have seen a lot of horses come and go, and you have to detach a little bit.
Oh, I have a lot. Yeah.
You have, yeah. Well, we've talked about so many different ones, and so for a long time, I was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna be able to make that work, so I'm gonna try this, and it was just like I could do it. And I worked in like marketing, and I lived in a resort town, so I worked in like aesthetics and kind of that world, and did personal assistant stuff for really great people. But I remember this one morning, I walked into the business I was working for. I was the assistant of the owner, and I came in, it was a salon, and there were these really wealthy women in that had massive social media followings under the premise of like a husband and wife relationship. And the conversation, point blank, was like they had gotten in this huge knockdown drag out fight, and he had promised something, and And she literally goes, but he bought me some Louis Vuitton bags, and so I'm gonna let it go. And it was 7:30 in the morning. I hold my coffee, and I was like, fuck, I have to. This is not gonna be my life.
Yeah.
Like, fuck that. And I was making really good money. I lived in like an apartment by myself, and I had the car I wanted, and by all standards, I was doing great. Like, by anybody that sampled from the outside. But if I took a gut check on myself then versus like when I moved into the barn I work at now, like, I was just, that was it for me. I was like, that, because she meant it. She wasn't joking. That was literally her life. And I was like, fuck this, man. Like, those people have millions of followers, millions of dollars, and that's what they're doing.
Right, over a bag.
Over a bag. And then, God, if you will, I went out to dinner a couple nights later with my friends, and one of her buddies was quitting a job at a ranch and leaving the position totally open. And I was like, they haven't a replacement yet? And she goes, no, they don't. And I called and I got the job, and that's still where I work today.
Okay.
So I dropped everything and went back into it, just full bore. And that was literally only 4 years ago. So I went from not riding for 7 years to
Oh, wow.
jumping back in. And that was a huge adjustment period. I had to have a 12-year-old show me how to cinch up a Western saddle again, because I had done the English,
Right.
you know? This is fucking humbling. And, yeah. So I tell people, I'm like, well, I tried really hard not to.
Yeah.
I tried to do the other thing and, like, be the corporate and, like, make them, and it just wasn't it. Like, I couldn't do it. And I'm so grateful, because ever since then, like, there has been, I promised myself I'm not going to go back into the food service industry, and I'm not going to go back into working for someone else. Not because there's anything wrong with that, but because I knew that there was good money in it, and I didn't want to get stuck there again. I was like, I am going to do this no matter what. And there's been so many times when, like, I didn't have enough for gas or rent, and a client would call, or like something would happen, or I'd get a job, or like, and there's just been enough of that where, like, God's taking care of me and allowed me to keep working, and that's kind of how I look at it. I'm like, fuck, I can have gas in my truck to drive to my car.
Yeah.
And he's blessed me with way more than that. Like, way more. And I feel incredibly blessed to be able to pay my bills riding horses, because that's
That's actually a big deal. You know, there's
deal.
Something that gets talked about very often.
it's not, and like you and I know a lot of trainers that are now Hall of Famers, that there was times in their career when they were working 2 jobs and riding
Just to
horses.
keep riding horses.
Yeah.
That's the art gets ugly part.
Yeah. Well, I can name one of them right now because he just died. Dwayne Lucas. At one point he was a high school basketball coach, and maybe he was phys ed coach too, or phys ed teacher, and working at a gas station, and then driving like 45 minutes every evening to go ride some horses under Jack Champy to build his career. And then he became Dwayne Lucas, like the at one point was the money earningest racehorse trainer of all time.
Hell yeah. Cool.
So yeah, just to just be able to pay the bills on a horse's back, that's a pretty big deal. And that's something I've thought about a lot in my life. You know, because we've always and been super blessed to always be able to make this work. But there's been times, you know, in the shower when I wash my hair and think, well, I don't wash my hair, but and just thinking about, like, God, how am I going to keep this shit together and feed kids and blah blah blah, and I just think, man, you've always made it work. God's always put it there for you, and
Yeah.
and this isn't braggadocious on my part. I've never fucking done anything else. I've cowboyed and I've rode horses, and that's all
awesome.
that's all I've ever done. But I see other people that are working a regular job at a coffee shop or whatever, trying to do this, and that's the thread between art and horsemanship, and that's
It's admirable too.
for sure.
It's a hustle. It really is. Trying to, like, show up, and it's not super glamorous work either. Like, there's days where you just get beat on.
Yeah.
Like, your body gets beat on, your bank account gets beat on. You got a whole
Mentally,
6 hours. Yeah, but I think what I love about it, what keeps me coming back to it, is the moment when you're by yourself and something happens, and you just have to fucking figure it out.
Yeah.
And you have to figure it out, because what else? Like, I can think of the last show that I went to. This was comical. I was literally laughing as it was happening, because I was like, well, I wouldn't expect anything less. So I've got to be on my horses, walking into the show arena at 8 a.m., right? Which means I need to be saddled at like 6, yeah. So one of the horses I was showing 3 horses in this show in one class. And one of them was stalled at the showgrounds. 2 of them I had to haul. So I get up at 4 a.m. and everything is close. The night before, I had backed my truck right up to the trailer, but my neighbors were out having like a big barbecue, and we've got a duplex right next to my house on the property, and they were out enjoying themselves, and I remember I was like, I don't want to be out here right now and with my trailer, so I hook it up like that close to the hitch, and I was like, sweet, I'll come out in the morning, good to go. Well, in the morning it's dark, and I hook up the trailer, and and the ball hitch is right there, and you just can kind of like back up a little, and it'll drop down, or you kind of shake it.
Yeah.
My truck was kind of like that, and I like went to go back it up just an inch to get the whole thing came down and rolled off of its blocks.
Shit. At 4 a.m. with no help.
No, yeah, and also, furthermore, if I could call anybody to come help, like, I'd still be running too late. Even if somebody could come up and like save me, like with their trailer or whatever, like it still would have been running too late. So, because now it must have been like 5 a.m., right? So again, I need to be fucking riding in 1 hour. And so I get my like a lever and go try to lift it, because it's a small trailer. It's not a gooseneck by any means. It's a little 2-horse bumper pull, because again, that's what I'm fucking driving, like a 2004 in my little bumper pull. I'm like, okay, I can lever this thing up, and I could get it like that far from the trailer. Yeah, almost. And I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, all right, well, here's my options. I either scratch the horses I'm hauling, and I leave right now, and I can at least show the one. I was like, that's an option. And I'm like, the fucking owners paid the entry fees on the one. The other one was the one I was most excited about personally, and I was like, that's Pedro, the little Arabian I told you about, Pedro. And I was like, all right, so realistically, like, if I can't figure this out, that's my backup, is I just scratch and I'll ride the one. And then I was like, but that's not it. That's not what. So I'm just that one more second. I was like, and I didn't have a jack. I didn't have like the trailer jack for it. I was like, well, I think if I could like find. So I go up to the garage, and we had one of those like the drop hitches where you can kind of adjust it. So I go get the longest adjustable drop hitch we have. Go back, undo my hitch, put that one on.
Jack it up.
Yep, I get the, and just like one more time. I was like, one more time, you have to, and I get it onto the drop hitch, jack it up, switch it, put my hitch back on, put it back together. We're on the road. I am on the my first run was a crapshoot, because you could tell we just
weren't warmed up.
No, it wasn't warmed up. But later, like, the judges and I were going over my scores, and I kind of joked about that. I was like, yeah, well, I was just fucking happy to be here that I got all my runs done. And I told him that, and he goes, oh, well, yeah. He goes, don't worry about this then. Like, fuck that. It sounds like, but it was just, it was one of those things where it's like, that's what you have to be ready for if you want to get into horses. Like, it's not, oh, I'm gonna ride into the sunset, I'm gonna meet a cowboy, and I'm gonna, like, you're gonna be alone by yourself a lot.
Yeah.
With mostly, thank God I had no horses in that situation, but we've talked plenty about
stupid goats. I want to thank the subscribers of our Patreon channel. The patrons, that's Patron where I'm from, give us the opportunity to bring these videos to you all. Without them, this channel wouldn't be possible. Join us over on Patreon for more in-depth lessons and step-by-step instruction on everything from gear to theory, riding everything from colts to bridle horses, the circus pole, and husbandry. We'd love to see you all over there.